This is a true crime discussions channel. We speculate. This is all just speculation. Because it's true crime, it's for mature audiences only. There will be no children allowed, no exceptions. Everything on this channel falls under fair use. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's free.
Hey y'all, I'm so glad y'all are here with me today on this lovely 4th of July. It's so nice to see y'all. Jenny, Jen, Carolina, my lovely Abellis, Joy, Snarky Pants is here. Hope you're feeling all right. Crystal Burns, Daisy Dane, Cindy from sunny South Florida gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so very much for that. I have not accessed the live yet, so I cannot see who they went to, but I really appreciate that. If you guys were gifted from our lovely, hold on, sorry. If you guys were gifted from our lovely Cindy from sunny South Florida, please tell Miss Cindy thank you. That was so sweet of you. I can see. Those went to this Susan, Kimmy Chi, Mel Carter, Paper Moon by Gina, and Seagate One. Again, if you were gifted from Cindy, please tell Miss Cindy thank you. Thank you, Miss Cindy. And I'll grab the crazy train to pick y'all up on the way to Speculation Station. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. I saw also that Chow gifted some, so we're working our way up. Hannah, good to see you. Cara, good to see you. Kimmy C123, good to see you. Hello Kitty, good to see you. Chow is here, and thank you so very much for gifting 5 memberships. Those went to Sandy, Hello Kitty, Social Glow, Callie Marie, and King Meech Money. If you were gifted from our lovely Chow, please tell Chow thank you. And thank you so very much, Chow. I will grab the crazy train and pick y'all up on the way to Speculation Station. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. Hello, Blue Jay. Good to see you. I see that you came in. Happy 4th of July. Let me pull this up for y'all. I did grab a little clip real quick while I was playing the intro. I usually have little things like this, but I didn't have anything prepared, so I grabbed this real quick like. So, happy 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. Got to have that eagle in there. Absolutely. I am so glad that y'all are here with me today. I hope that y'all enjoy your 4th of July. Hold on just a minute. Let me get the. Oh my goodness, Abellis. Madeline P., good to see you. I'm going to shut this door real quick because the children are watching a movie and it's got music. And so I need to shut the door. Hold on just a minute. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Can we turn the TV down just a little bit, please? Okay, I'm back. Abellis, that was so very sweet of you to gift 20, oh my goodness, 20 Speculation Station memberships. Those went to Ruby 60, Ann Airwood, Travel and Teresa, Betty Noor, Rebby, Kiki Danger, Jeep Babe, I'm a Meme Girl, Hugh, Jen Mac 2403, Chris L, Truth Finder, Lady Scarface, Celeste Mandy, Katie Alexander, Pumpkin Porter, Mary Wilson, Nary Quite Contrary, Rosie Rose 80, and Lynn Lavelia. If you were gifted from our lovely Abellis, please tell Abellis thank you. Thank you, Abellis. That was so sweet of you. I will grab the Polar Express to pick y'all up on the way to Speculation Station. Thank you so very much. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. Do. I have to share it through, oh, I gotta watch that. It's got the chickens. I gotta share it through my email, but I gotta pull my email up anyway because we're gonna talk about Decker, and then we're gonna kind of switch between Decker and Stearns. Where is I need my pens? Oh my goodness. Okay. Hold on. Hold on just a minute. I'm getting all of the thingies together. All right, here we go. It never lets me have the volume. Why do I have no audio? Da-da-dum, da-da-dum.
Jeez, we have nothing else prepared.
Why? Well, it has no audio. Why do I have no volume? Look it.
Oh, jeez, we have nothing else prepared. We did forget to sing the national.
There we go. Oh my goodness, them things are so funny. Cluck yeah. Ruby, thank you. Thank you so much for saying thank you. Speaker upper right. All right, let me try it again. Let me get back to the link. I'm going to try it one more time. Oh, I see it now. Okay, hold on. Hold on, let me pull it up. Gotta have some Americas.
Fuck yeah! Scared to say the motherfucking yeah, America! Fuck yeah! Freedom is the only way, yeah, America!
I like that one.
Yeah! Coming together to say the motherfucking yeah, America! Fuck yeah! Freedom is the only way, yeah!
I like that one better. It showed them flying away. 'Cause America, baby. Oh my goodness. Hey, Anders. Good to see you. Hello to everybody coming in. Thank y'all for telling me how to fix it. Carolina, good to see you. You saw it at like 5 o'clock this morning. You said she'll like that. I sure do. They're cute. All right, so we will start. I'm going to start. I've got several articles that the lovely Abellis has sent me over the past probably week or so about Travis Decker. So we'll start by reading some of those and we'll kind of intermingle with the documents that the Judge Carsten filed in response to their motion to continue. Motion to suppress. I apologize. It's the motion to suppress. I had requested them, but Plunder was able to get them, and I'm not even going to be able to get them until at least Monday. So we're going to talk about them, and I'm going to drop her link as we go over the video I put out on that. Cluck, yeah. Hey, Content Angel. So we're going to I'm going to read to y'all some about Travis, then we'll go and talk about Stearns, and we'll read some more about Travis. Travis is still at large. Whitney Decker, Plunder. Hey, Abella. Hey, Ali X. I was reading your comments at Abellas. Travis Decker is still at large. Whitney Decker, I think she's had like one of the most supported GoFundMe's like ever, raising over $1 million, which is amazing. No amount of money could heal her pain from losing her children. But I'm sure that will provide some financial stability for her, which can also be a cause of great concern during times like these. I know y'all heard that later. I apologize. I'm working on it. One day at a time. I'm trying to quit smoking one day at a time. All right. So this article is from Source One. It is titled DNA Evidence Confirms Fugitive Travis Decker's Presence at Crime Scene. Massive multi agency search continues. Says it was updated today. I'm not sure. I know this was from a little while ago, maybe a week. So there is Travis Decker. Please take note if you can. I really feel like he's a chameleon and able to blend in with society pretty well. So, take note, be on the lookout, especially if you're in the Washington, Seattle, Wenatchee areas. Blue Jay said, I've been out of the loop on everything except Lily and Jack. We have talked about that too. I'm hoping those babies are found soon. What I think is beautiful about Whitney is that she's taking her tragedy and turning it into a movement so something like this cannot happen again. And that is beautiful. Um, we always hope that something good will come out of these tragedies and travesties, is what I was originally going to say. Um, no, Christopher Columbus didn't discover anything. Actually, the Vikings were here before then. And basically Christopher Columbus came over and gave the Native Americans smallpox, used Sacagawea to uh, rape and pillage tribes, in my opinion, allegedly. So, I'm just gonna sit down and be quiet though. Anders, that's a good question. Can he really still be alive? I'm not sure, but we're gonna talk about it. Oh, all I need is Jesus, coffee, and true crime. Thank you for being here. Gray Pubes had a lot to say about Whitney's GoFundMe. He said it doesn't cost $1 million to bury 3 children. Can you believe him? He's always saying something that is controversial, always saying, give me, 3, 4, 5, 6 more thumbs up, and I'll drop some information that you may or may not have. I don't know. Sometimes he's able to get things from what I've heard or been told that other people aren't. But other than that, it's I don't know. I know a lot of people don't really like him, but hold on. Speaking of thumbs up, okay, I had to make it 4th of July related. All right, thumbs up poll. Now back to the document. Oh, lordy, lordy. Okay. It says Wenatchee. Authorities confirmed Tuesday that blood found on the tailgate of a suspect vehicle in the ongoing manhunt for triple homicide suspect Travis Decker. Change that to 19. Okay, I apologize. Authorities confirmed Tuesday that blood found on the tailgate of a suspect vehicle in the ongoing manhunt for triple murder suspect Travis Decker matches his DNA, reinforcing suspicions that Decker was at the scene of the homicides. According to an update from the Chelan County Sheriff's Office, lab results from the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab verified that blood recovered from the vehicle belonged to the same male profile connected to personal items believed to be Decker's. Law enforcement says the DNA profile leaves no doubt that the same individual was responsible for all recovered biological evidence, an individual investigators firmly believe to be Decker. Quote, we do not have I hate when it jumps. We do not have any reason to believe there are any other suspects, unquote, officials stated. Despite the breakthrough in the forensic investigation, Decker remains at large. The search has intensified across rugged terrain in both Chelan and Catias counties with coordinated efforts involving drone surveillance, canine units, and human remains detection dogs. Volunteers from Chelan County Volunteer Search and Rescue, or CCVSAR, deputies and U.S. Marshals have combed the areas from the enchantments through the Ingalls Creek and other challenging locations. Last week alone, over 24 CCVSAR volunteers conducted a detailed sweep of the original crime scene. Authorities say that there is still no clear evidence to confirm whether Decker is alive or dead. Quote, we will continue these efforts until he is taken into custody or recovered, unquote, the sheriff's office stated, thanking partner agencies and volunteers for their tireless work. The U.S. Marshal Service has offered a reward of up to $20,000 for information leading directly to Decker's arrest. He is considered armed and dangerous. Anyone who sees Travis Decker is urged to call 911. So, Decker did leave clues, dainty, that he was going to California, but somebody asked me this the other day. Sorry. And they asked, Lord, where was I going? Somebody asked me the other day about Decker and Canada. Oh, did I think that it was possible that he really went to Canada? And some people speculate that he went to Mexico. My thoughts on that are that he got the girls Friday evening. They were located, I think, Sunday or Monday. And that tells me that he had somewhat of a head start ahead of the police. For him to be in the military and have some special skills, I mean, even if he didn't complete the Ranger training course, he still has some special skills. I don't think that he would have left information like that out there. I think that that was to throw investigators off. I think that he could have possibly headed to Mexico, and I think he had more of a head start than anyone really knows of just yet. What the heck? What's wrong, Blue Jay? What did I do? Oh, okay. $1 million does sound like way too much for 3 funerals. Maybe Whitney should have clarified her GoFundMe. Well, we can talk about it. I do get updates actually, so let me pull up, because there was an update. I just looked at it. When you donate, because I donated $20 to her GoFundMe, and I shared the link on my post section of my YouTube page. And because I did that and entered my email, it does give me updates. So we'll go to that real quick because I did get this update. So this was posted Thursday, July 3rd at 3:43 p.m. or 22 hours ago, in reference to her GoFundMe. And she says, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It is hard to find the words to fully express our gratitude, but please know how deeply and sincerely we thank you. Hold on just a second. Gracious. To everyone who donated, shared, and showed up in so many meaningful ways, your generosity and compassion have helped Whitney in the most unimaginable time. Because of you, we are able to honor the beautiful lives of Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia with a memorial filled with love, light, and community. To the volunteers and businesses who came together to help bring the memorial to life, thank you for giving your time, your hands, and your hearts. To those who sent flowers, gifts, and messages of support for Whitney, your kindness has been a source of comfort and strength. This community, whether near or far, has wrapped Whitney and her family in love and compassion, and we are so grateful. With love, Amy. I'm going to try to see. It might tell me how much. Yeah. So $1,268 and $1,268,942 is been donated. It says the fundraiser is to support Whitney Decker with expenses and legal costs following the tragic loss of her 3 daughters, Peyton, Evan, and Olivia. Tells us how they died. They go directly to Whitney. I do know, even if it doesn't mention it here, that she is doing more. Hey, Becky, to try to update the Amber Alert system, and that she's doing stuff pertaining to Veterans Affairs, trying to get help for veterans that need it in a more timely manner, because Decker had asked for help. He had asked for mental health services through the VA, and was unable to get them. And I'm sorry, but dealing with PTSD and going to war and coming back home, I feel like they should be, first in line to receive mental health services above anybody else. Okay. Anybody else coming in that I might have missed? I apologize if I missed you. Anja, happy 4th of July. And I hope that y'all are having a good day. Queen Olive, Ruth Ann, good to see you. Okay. So that's about the fundraiser. An anonymous person donated $10,000. That's amazing. I mean, I don't know. I know it's a lot of money. It might be one of the biggest GoFundMe's ever to have been done, but could you imagine losing all of your children at once to your husband? I know it's happened before. I couldn't imagine the pain she's dealing with. And again, unlike some people, she is using it to try to make a change in the community for more than just her. Okay, so we've got this, it appears, news segment
Dogs out. We've had additional.
that we can watch.
We did put out a ground unit on Saturday.
Will stop acting crazy, and then I'll let AI read the article so you don't have to listen to me sounding all crazy like. Criminally insane. Yes, Anders, I think so. Technically, criminally insane. What is the definition of criminally insane? Maybe we should look that up. He did have multiple personality disorder. Hey, Bogart, happy 4th of July. Glad to see you. All right, let's see what y'all's favorite hottie had to say.
We did put out a ground unit on Saturday of over 30 people that did a grid search around the campsite, extending out, following up on additional information. We inserted additional units into the enchantments area that did follow-up searches. We had our cadaver dog out again. That was not the first time we've had cadaver dogs. We've had cadaver dogs out from the beginning. We also had our search dogs out. We've had additional ground teams following up. We've received additional results back from State Patrol's crime lab that did not come back to be a match. And that was just an area of interest that we were looking at on the Kittitas County side. So we'll continue to follow up, but we did get positive confirmation that the DNA from the crime scene does match up with the DNA that we believe to be Mr. Decker's. So I know there's a lot of questions on that. Was there a match? Yes. Based off what we have, yes. And there were no other suspects that have been identified so far with DNA samples that we've gotten back from the crime lab. And we'll have additional National Park Service team that is going to be deploying in the high school. That's going to go from above the campsite all the way down to the Columbia. In addition to our Swiftwater team will be in there again. And we'll continue to search with our GoPro cameras that we had going in the water for areas of interest. So we're very much still invested in that process. And we're going to continue to search until we get to a point where we feel it would not be a vital utilization of our funds to continue to go through there. But I'd point out a lot of the teams that are in there are volunteering their time and their resources. I wouldn't say volunteering, they're paying for the bill, but they're not billing Chelan County. And I'd imagine so far this operation's been over 6 million is what we're getting, generalization. And majority of that has not been billed back to Chelan County. If we had to take on the investigation by ourselves, I'd imagine we would have eaten up close to half of our budget.
$6 million to find Decker.
We did put out a ground unit on Saturday.
That is insane. Okay, I'm going to play it because I have we still have a lot of articles to read. Tony, good to see you. I saw Tony, Kari or Carrie, and Glitter is Forever came in. Aw, I'm sure he would be.
Wenatchee, Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison said today the cost of the manhunt for accused child murderer Travis Decker has now topped $6 million, shared among multiple police agencies. I would imagine this operation's been over $6 million, Morrison told Chelan County's Board of Commissioners at their regular Tuesday meeting. That's what we're getting as a generalization. And the majority of that is not being billed back to Chelan County. If we had to take on the investigation by ourselves, I'd imagine it would have eaten up close to half of our budget. The 32-year-old Decker, a former Army service member characterized as an experienced outdoorsman, has been missing and sought by law enforcement nationwide since June 2nd, when his young daughters, Peyton 9, Evelyn 8, and Olivia 5, were found asphyxiated at an Icicle Creek campsite west of Leavenworth. Their father had picked the girls up from their mother Whitney Decker for a brief scheduled visit on May 30th and then did not return. He is charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and a federal count of fleeing to avoid prosecution, and is suspected to have retreated into the mountains. The sisters were laid to rest with a June 20th public memorial service at Rocky Reach Dam Park. Morrison said after wide-ranging searches throughout the Cascade Mountains and elsewhere, recently the search effort returned to the scene of the crime. The goal remains finding Decker, dead or alive. We did put out a ground unit on Saturday of over 30 people that did a grid search around the campsite, extending out, following up on additional information. We inserted additional units into the encampments area that did follow-up searches. We had our cadaver dog out again. Among other factors in Morrison's update, genetic material collected from the campsite and crime scene matched up with Decker's suspected DNA profile. Other samples taken at more remote locations, as the search crossed high mountains into Kittitas County, did not. There were no other suspects that have been identified so far with DNA samples that we've gotten back from the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab, Morrison said. Last week, Kittitas County teams searched the Crystal Creek drainage from the encampments through Ingalls Creek. Kittitas County, along with Chelan County Sheriff's personnel and a human remains detection dog, searched the Ingalls drainage as well. A National Park Service team will search the Icicle Valley, from above the campsite along the Icicle River down to the mouth of the Columbia. Swiftwater trained deputies will also search in the Icicle River itself as the summer streamflow diminishes with summer, searching for evidence or for Decker's remains. We're going to continue to search until we get to a point where we feel it would not be a vital utilization of our funds to continue to go through there. Travis Decker could soon be placed among the top 15 on the U.S. Marshals Service Most Wanted list. We'll continue to push the Bring a Loud Voice for Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, and Whitney and the rest of the family, just because I understand they're still sitting on edge waiting for us to get a result, Morrison said. A reward of up to $20,000 is available for tips leading directly to Travis Decker's arrest. He's 5 feet 8 inches tall, with black hair and brown eyes and several identifying arm and torso tattoos. Anyone with information about the case is asked to call 1-800-336-0102 or visit usmarshals.gov/tips.
That would have been a lot for me to read, so I do appreciate that we had AI for that one. All right, let me see what else I have. Oh, this is going to be this article right here. I do believe, if I'm understanding correctly by reading the title, which titles can be tricky, I think the guy who found the truck and the girls spoke to, I'm assuming, People magazine. So I thought that this might be interesting to go over so we can understand what kind of trauma and, how horrible of a find that was for them. Hey, Edith. Short little fucker. Oh yeah, he is. I think I don't think he's real tall. So this is from People magazine. It's titled, "He Discovered Travis Decker's Truck and Soon After Slain Daughters Were Found." He says he's still angry. Decker, who is wanted on the first-degree homicide and kidnapping charges in the deaths of his daughter Peyton 9, Olivia 8, and Olivia 5, and Evelyn 8, has yet to be apprehended a month into the search. This was published July 1st at 1:13 p.m. So there is Decker. It says, "What we need to know. The deputy who found Travis Decker's abandoned pickup truck in a remote campground on June 2nd is speaking out. Quote, I'm still angry. He still hasn't been found," unquote. Chelan County Deputy Mike McLeod recently told USA. Decker is wanted on first-degree homicide and kidnapping charges in the deaths of his daughters, Peyton 9, Olivia 8, and oh my gosh, I did it again, Evelyn 8 and Olivia 5. The deputy who found Travis Decker's abandoned truck at a remote campground in Washington State, a discovery that would soon lead authorities to the bodies of Decker's 3 young daughters, says he's haunted by what unfolded next. Decker, who is wanted on first-degree homicide and kidnapping charges in the deaths of Peyton 9, Evelyn 8, and Olivia 5, has yet to be apprehended a month after the search began. Quote, I'm still angry. He still hasn't been found, unquote. Chelan County Deputy Mike McLeod told USA Today in an interview published on June 30th. On May 30th, Decker failed to bring the girls back to his ex-wife, Whitney Decker, in Wenatchee, Washington. After taking them for a 3-hour court-ordered visit, Whitney's calls to Travis went straight to voicemail, and even though her ex-husband had always been reachable, as she would later tell investigators, per a probable cause affidavit obtained by People. Later that night, Whitney went to the Wenatchee Police Department to report their daughters missing, setting off a frantic search for the girls, as well as their father, led by local police. In an interview with People last month, Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison credited the work of the Wenatchee Police Department as well as Deputy McLeod for finding Travis's white pickup truck in a remote area of the Rock Island campground on June 2nd. Quote, "We just put one of our resources that had an intimate knowledge of that portion of the county, which was McLeod, and he was able to locate it pretty quickly," unquote, Sheriff Morrison told People. However, several yards away down an embankment is where the girls were found deceased. A medical examiner later determined they died from asphyxiation. Quote, "There was nothing we could do for them," unquote, McLeod recalled of the grim discovery per USA Today. Quote, "I was angry. Where is he?" Oddly enough, there wasn't anyone at any other campsites, he added to the outlet. No people, no vehicles. Normally, it's super busy. Mm. Travis was believed to have been spotted by another hiker on or about June 10th, but since then, investigators have suspected he is no longer alive or in the area. Authorities have also previously said they believe Travis may have fled on foot and attempted to cross into Canada after he allegedly searched how to relocate to Canada online, according to U.S. Marshal Service affidavit obtained by People. We want to oh, there is an advertisement, and then it says during a June 26th appearance on News Nation's Banfield, Whitney's attorney said the grieving mother hopes Travis is found dead or alive. That's a huge thing she wants, says Cozart, her attorney. It's very, very important to hear so that she can have peace. He's shorter than you, is he? So I don't know what his plan was, Vero. I mean, we're assuming that he has a plan, that his thought processes were working correctly. He's got borderline personality disorder, and I find myself questioning how could he do something like this to his daughters? How could a man commit homicide on his daughters? And that's going to bring us directly into the next article. So, Vero, I'm glad you asked. So, what was his plan? Unalive his beautiful 3 daughters and live like a nomad with zero resources forever? Great question. Okay, thank you. McLeod, thank you. I knew I was pronouncing it wrong. I appreciate your help with that. Blue Jay pointed out he isn't a man, and I agree. So, this article is titled Travis Decker Timeline How an Active Dad Ended Up Allegedly Committing Homicide of His 3 daughters. Gotta have an ad first, of course. Oh, it's just gonna have music. Let me read what it's saying. DNA found at the scene of the crime now links Travis Decker, who is accused of committing homicide on his 3 daughters, according to the Chelan County Sheriff's Office. And there's more pictures of him. Again, please be on the lookout. Peyton Decker 9, 11 Decker, okay. Peyton Decker 9, Evelyn Decker 8, and Olivia Decker 5 were homicided after they left home for a planned visitation with Decker on May 30th and were found deceased near the Rock Island campground in Chelan County, Washington on June 2nd, according to police. Look at them babies. Precious. It's pretty out there. We're going camping next week. Decker's vehicle was discovered unoccupied near the girls' bodies, and officials revealed that blood found on the tailgate of his truck matches the DNA profile that we believe is Decker's, officials said. I wonder if that was his actual pickup. Decker, who is described as 5 feet 8, 5 feet 8 inches tall, with black hair and brown eyes, was last seen wearing a light shirt and dark shorts, police said, and a new suspect flyer was released by authorities on June 16th. Okay, that was all for the video, but at least we got some pictures of Decker out there. Hey, Lily Gal. Kari. Yeah, we're going. I tried to get a campsite because we usually go. I'm usually at the lake every 4th of July, but the campground we go to, the one that's like 6 minutes from where we live at, they were all booked up for the weekend. So I reserved a site from Monday through Sunday. So we'll be leaving probably Monday morning and getting set up and then coming back Sunday evening. But I'll still be live because I can just come here and be live, and I got to check on the geese and milk the goats, take care of Basil and all the things. So I'll still be here. I can't see him living with himself after doing that to his daughters. I think he ended himself. I think it's very possible. Thank you. I'm excited. Happy 249th birthday, America. America. Hi, Titanium. I am. Nice to see you. All right, continuing with the article. In a mystery that has captured national attention, Washington father Travis Decker picked up his 3 young daughters on May 30th for a planned visitation and never came back. The 3 girls, Peyton Decker 9, Evelyn Decker 8, and Olivia Decker 5, were found deceased near a Washington state campground on June 2nd, according to police. This is System Fail. We can listen to
development overnight in the search for the Washington father accused of killing his 3 young girls. Now his ex-wife is speaking out. Here's ABC's Johnny Fernandez.
Overnight, investigators tracking new leads in the search for the father accused of murdering his 3 young daughters near a Washington state campground. Authorities now say Travis Decker, known to have wilderness survivor skills, may be traveling along the Pacific Crest Trail, one area now closed to visitors as police urge residents to keep their doors and windows locked.
Now, I know that they have gone back to the Icicle Creek area recently.
Decker's daughters, Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, just 9, 8, and 5 years old, were supposed to return home last week from a court-approved visit with their father. But on Monday, their bodies were found in a wooded area in Leavenworth. Police say it appears they were suffocated.
Travis was never violent with the girls. He had some mental health issues.
Decker's ex-wife, through her attorney, now speaking out, saying Decker struggled with PTSD after serving in Afghanistan and had reached out to the VA for help.
She feels like the system really let Travis down. She still to this day has a lot of love and empathy for Travis. And
so, I mean, again, that confirms that he had tried to get help for his mental issues that he had going on and was unable to do so. Hey, Curious Christine, good to see you. You think that he's alive and not in Washington anymore? I think that's very possible.
who he is in his core, because he was a very loving man, but something broke. And whatever monster came out of him, it's something that he was trained to do in the military. And our government really should provide those resources.
Decker's ex-wife is also pushing for changes to the Amber Alert system. Police say that this case did not meet the criteria because there was no evidence of an abduction.
And I mean, even
A major development overnight in the
even going back to Jack and Lily's case, I mean, that's another one where it didn't meet the criteria for an Amber Alert, but because there was no evidence of an abduction. But I still feel like it should have been issued. Oh. Okay. Decker, who has been accused of homiciding the 3 girls, has since disappeared, sparking a multi-agency manhunt. Nearly 1 month after the girls' bodies were found, the manhunt for Decker continues. Here's a timeline of what we know about the homicide of the three sisters who were described by their mother, Whitney Decker, as having warm and open hearts. On May 30th, Travis Decker, who was 32, picked up the girls at their home in the Wenatchee Valley, talked to his ex-wife for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then left, Whitney Decker's attorney told ABC News. Quote, he said, "Hey, I will see you at 8," and then he left and never came back. Whitney contacted police that evening with a civil complaint saying she had not heard from them. Travis Decker and he had failed to bring the girls home at their scheduled time, officials said. She attempted to call her ex-husband multiple times, but his cell phone was going straight to voicemail, and she began to express concern because he reportedly had never done this before, and further noted he is currently experiencing some mental health issues, according to court records. May 31st, detectives later learned that Travis Decker and his daughters did not arrive at the planned 5K running event on May 31st, according to court documents. The Wenatchee Police Department announced the disappearance of the three girls, stating that Travis Decker was homeless and living in his vehicle or at various hotels or motels or at campgrounds in the area. Police said at the time the investigation had not met the Amber Alert criteria, but they did issue an endangered missing person alert through the Washington State Patrol. June 2nd, at approximately 3 p.m. on June 2nd, officials located Travis Decker's vehicle unoccupied near the Rock Island campground in Chelan County. Police said in a press release, additional law enforcement officers responded to the scene and found the bodies of the three girls, but Travis Decker was not located. Says, "We want to express our sincere and deep, heartfelt condolences to the family at this time." That's what the police said. Officials began their search for Travis Decker, who police said is a former member of the military with extensive training. Travis Decker was charged with 3 counts of first-degree homicide and 3 counts of first-degree kidnapping. On June 4th, 2 days after the girls were found, the manhunt continued for Travis Decker, with officials saying he could be anywhere within the nation. Travis, if you are listening, this is your opportunity to turn yourself in. Do the right thing, do what you need to do, and take accountability for your actions. We are not going to rest, and we are going to make sure we find you. You will be brought to justice. Those young ladies deserve it, Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison said during a press conference. Reports of a possible sighting of Travis Decker in Idaho on June 4th were debunked by authorities the same day, officials said. Based off the information we got back, was that the sighting in McCall, Idaho was not our suspect, Morrison said in a press conference. Court documents obtained by ABC News revealed more details regarding the crime scene, including that there were plastic bags over the heads of each girl and their wrists were zip tied. Around Travis Decker's deputies located zip ties and plastic bags strewn throughout the area, and the tailgate of the truck had what appeared to be 2 handprints of blood, according to the documents. Authorities also learned that Travis Decker was well versed in wilderness survival and could be capable of spending days or even weeks within the wilderness on his own with very little equipment. More information about Travis Decker's military background also emerged. Specifically, he was deployed to Afghanistan in 2014 while on active duty in the Army and was then transferred to the Washington National Guard in 2021. From the active component, according to the spokesperson for the Washington State Military Department. Preparations for an administration separation began in 2023 or 2024, but the process had not officially started and he remained in the Washington National Guard, the spokesperson said. Local officials began working with the FBI and Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Marshal Office in their search efforts. Let me see what y'all are saying. Did they? I know there was a vehicle spotted with Summer Wells. I'm not sure about Sebastian. There was some kind of red truck, but it could be irrelevant. Hey, Avril. If he's no longer with us, maybe he put himself someplace we wouldn't find him easily. I think that's possible too. Okay. June 5th, Cozart revealed to ABC News more information on Travis Decker, specifically that he lacked mental health resources and struggled with post-traumatic stress disorder. The courts didn't fail these girls. It wasn't the judge and it wasn't Whitney. It was our system, Cozart said. Whitney feels the system really let Travis down. If somebody would have provided Travis with the help that he needed, those girls would be alive. Before the girls disappeared, Cozart said there were no red flags and that he loved the girls very much. Additional details on Travis Decker and Whitney Decker's marriage emerged, including that his PTSD was something he always carried with him during their 10 years together. With Travis Decker screaming in the middle of the night, soaking the bed, and only getting 1 or 2 hours of sleep, Cozart said. After their marriage ended in 2023, Whitney Decker, who has full custody of the children, decided to seek legal counsel and petition the court to put restrictions in place on his parenting due to concerning factors regarding Travis's mental health and stability, Cozart said. Cozart told ABC News the court at the time granted visitations for the father to visit the children for 3 hours on Friday, 8 hours every other weekend, so long as he remained in the Wenatchee Valley with the girls. This parenting agreement was working really well until May 30th, Cozart said. On June 9th, an autopsy determined the girl's cause of death to be suffocation, and the manner of death was ruled as a homicide, the Chelan County Sheriff's Office said in a statement. The sheriff's office said it had collected a large amount of evidence, many of the suspect's personal items from the truck, through the analysis of the evidence. Though the analysis of the evidence creates more questions and information for investigators to continue to pursue. Blood samples taken from the scene included human and non-human, the sheriff's office said. Further DNA and fingerprinting analysis are still being conducted, the sheriff's office said. The suspect's dog had also been recovered and turned over to Humane Society for care, officials said. June 10th, an affidavit obtained by ABC News revealed that Travis Decker had made several internet searches 4 days before he picked the girls up about moving to Canada. His Google searches include how does a person move to Canada, how to relocate to Canada, the affidavit said. The U.S. Marshals Service, which is leading the search for the suspect, announced an award of up to $20,000 for information leading directly to Travis Decker's arrest. On June 17th, officials released a new suspect flyer of Decker, including photos of potential ways Decker may have altered his appearance in the weeks since he was last seen. On June 20th, a memorial was held for the three sisters, with mother Whitney Decker speaking for the first time since the death of her daughters. I am so thankful for the time I had with the girls. I truly hope the legacy of the girls' lives live on in everyone's hearts forever. They were incredible, unquote, Whitney Decker said. June 23rd, officials released an update regarding the search efforts, stating that, quote, there is no certain evidence that Decker remains alive or in this area, unquote. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office also confirmed to ABC News that a cadaver dogs have been deployed and utilized in the search along with tracking dogs. Quote, we can't and won't quit this search, unquote, Catius County Sheriff Clay Myers said in a statement. Peyton, Olivia, and Evelyn Decker deserve justice. Decker remains a danger to the public as long as he's at large. Deputies have investigated dozens and dozens and dozens of potential sightings, tips, and leads with nothing being successful. Whew, this is a lot. He wouldn't want to make it easy. He could have tied himself up and went and died there. You talking about in a tree? Maybe. Authorities should watch for carbon birds flying over areas. That's how 2 criminals were found dead here in Canada in the forest. Yeah, cadaver dog, the buzzards and things. I always pay attention to that. July 27th, Todd McGee, a law enforcement and security analyst, told ABC News he believes the fugitive father is likely still alive and will eventually surface since canines have not picked up on any type of cadaver or any type of presence of a deceased body. Canines are trained to look for cadavers and sniff for those types of odors, so he still may be on the move, McGee said. McGee said Travis Decker will likely leverage every bit of his military experience, but said he believes he will eventually surface. Quote, he'll eventually have to surface through seeking shelter, seeking food, nutrition, Those types of things will require him to come out of hiding and to some degree expose himself to the general public, unquote, McGee said. Regardless of where Regardless of where Travis Decker may be, McGee said he is confident the search efforts will lead to some form of closure. Quote, I'm confident that something should reveal itself as far as resolution to where his existence is and hopefully capture and arrest, McGee told ABC News. July 1st. Officials announced on July 1st that the bloody handprints found on the tailgate of Travis Decker's truck matches the DNA profile, quote, that we believe is Decker's, unquote, the Chelan County Sheriff's Office said in a statement. With this evidence, officials say they do not have any reason to believe there are any other suspects. Authorities said they are continuing this multi agency search for Decker, saying the National Park Service is also planning to send out swift water search and rescue teams in the near future to conduct more searches of the bodies of water around the crime scene. And that's all of that. Well, that was a lot to read. Hey, Woofy, how are you? All right, let me see. I have one more update. Oh, it didn't let me share it. I'm going to have to do it this way. Okay. So this is Lake Chelan now, and it's titled Search for Travis Decker Continues. Update July 1st, 2025 at 12:30 p.m. That is so pretty. And it's again talking about the blood samples taken from the suspect trucks matched search teams. Okay. Blood samples taken from suspect's truck matched. Search teams continue strategic operations throughout Chelan and Catias counties. It's looking to see if there's a way to. No. Okay. Detectives learned from the Washington State Police Crime Lab that the DNA and the blood found on the tailgate of the truck, first known to belong to a male, matches the DNA profile that we believe is Decker. Search teams, both law enforcement and volunteer, along with canines, continue coordinated searches for Mr. Decker. Detectives originally recovered some individual personal items from the scene they believed to belong to Mr. Decker. The lab took DNA samples from those items and found they matched the DNA in the blood samples recovered at the scene. We know positively that all of the DNA samples recovered belong to the same male subject, who we believe is Mr. Decker. With this evidence, along with other evidentiary items found at the scene, we do not have any reason to believe there are any other suspects. Last week, Catias County teams searched the Crystal Creek drainage from the enchantments out through Ingalls Creek. Catias County, along with CCSO personnel and human remains detection dog, searched the Ingle drainage as well. Throughout the search, several canines with different disciplines have been utilized on a regular basis, and we will continue to utilize those resources as needed. CCSO drone teams have been actively flying CCSO drone teams have been actively flying search patterns over land and water, and last Saturday at 25 CCVSAR office, CCVSAR, the U.S. Forest Service, U.S. Marshal Service all continue coordinated search efforts throughout the area. Additionally, the National Park Service is planning to send out their swift water search and rescue teams in the near future to conduct even more searches of the bodies of water around the crime scene. Hey, Vero. I know, isn't it so cute? Our lovely Jenny. At this time, we do not have any evidence to suggest Mr. Decker is alive or deceased until he is taken into custody or recovered. We will continue these efforts. We are extremely grateful for the continued leadership, dedication, and support from all our search teams. The United States Marshal Service is offering a reward of up to $20,000 for information leading directly to Travis Decker's arrest. The suspect should be considered armed and dangerous. If you see Travis Decker, please call 911 immediately and do not attempt to contact or approach him. Anyone with information is urged to contact the nearest U.S. Marshal's office, the U.S. Marshal Service Communication Center at 1-800-336-0102 or USMS TIPS. Anyone with information, contact Under Sheriff Dan Osment, incident number 25C04728, phone at 509-667-6851 or www.co.chilean.wa.us/sheriff. And this is a photo of what Travis Decker could look like if he's altered his appearance. I really feel like that AI generated photo is not doing it justice, though. I don't think that he's going to look like any of those. I think he's going to look more like the gas station picture where he's wearing like the highlighter shirt when he's found, if he's alive. Hold on, I'll show you what I'm referencing. Hold on just a minute. Is that really him? No, that's something else. Where is the picture of him in the gas station? It was just up there and we were looking at it. That one. I think he's going to look more like that when they find him personally. And I think that's a good one because his hair is pulled back. So even if his hair is no longer long, you kind of get an idea of what he looks like. He might have shaved his face. But other than that, I personally, if they find him and he's alive, I think he's going to look more like that image. As opposed to like that image, these images, I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. I don't feel like that's what he looks like. Again, I really think he's going to look like that when they find him more so. Like, because that looks like two totally different people to me. What do you guys think? No tats. He has tats, I think. Hey, Shraddha, good to see you. Or might have a beard down to his kneecaps. Well, depending on when they find him. He's probably got more facial hair now because he's out in the wilderness. He obviously can't shave. So it's probably going to definitely be more of a beard. Yeah, I wish they'd show him with like a beard. So it might be more like this, but with the hair filled in more. I know, like the AI generated photos are like goofy to me. I don't like them. It's like it doesn't even look real. Avril said, yeah, maybe he did steal until he reached his stash or to make law enforcement think he had no provisions. If he's still alive, he's eating. Somebody had said that eggs were taken out of their chicken coop in the area. And I mean, that's protein. That's what you need. So I mean, in order to, if you're going to be out there trying to survive, you would have to get protein from something. Nuts would provide protein, oats, things like that. If he was able to kill small animals, squirrels, rabbits, and things like that. But if he's going to do that, he's going to have to start a fire to cook it. That's going to cause smoke unless he makes a smokeless fire pit. So he's probably going without protein unless he got them eggs. Oh, the one I pulled up, that wasn't him. Yeah. Didn't have any tattoos. Thank you for that. Anders said, I think he looks like a different person in every pic. I do too. It's crazy because you see this, right? And then you look at these and it's like, that's not even the same person. There's no damn way. And then there's ones from Facebook. This one, like that, it's like, no damn way that's the same man, but it is. I think he's a chameleon. Like he's one of those people that can look like any number of different people from day to day. You're cleaning the house while you listen. Bogart, before I started my channel, I was going to tell y'all that's what I did. I would clean the house or work in the garden, etc., while I listen to YouTube, and I still do. Cracker Jacks, I don't know if I said hey to you either, but hello, my love. This man's got FA to live for. So, yeah, every picture is different. Like here, he's smiling. He appears to be somewhat happy. This one, he's smiling. Like he's not going to be smiling. Like, I don't know. It's different. People, his face is relaxed, more like this, where he's not smiling. That's a relaxed that's a relaxed pose or posture where he's walking into the gas station like that. Like that's how you're going to see him out in public, just walking around. Thicko. All right. So let's go to the next thing. I think that was everything I had on Travis Decker, all sent to me by the lovely Abellis. What the crap? Hold on. I'm going to pull this up. They took my ad revenue off of my video that I just put out for what reason, I don't know. Oh, hold on. It might take y'all to my, yeah, it did. Hold on. Hold on. Let me contest that real quick. Oh no, it's showing that it's good. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and pull that up. All right, so if you haven't seen, I got this video out today, and it is going over the motions filed by Judge Keith Carsten denying Stern's motions to suppress. This is a monumental thing that Judge Keith Carsten has done. He saved Madeline Soto's CSAM case. If these motions had not been denied, if he had not done what he did here, then basically the whole CSAM trial would have just been thrown away. There would have been no evidence. Keep in mind, again, like I'm going to mention in the video, that the USB drive with the other images, videos, and things like that on it are of other children being abused by other people, unfortunately. And what's on the Google Drive on his phone and all of that is going to be of him specifically abusing Maddie. And that's what we need. We got to have him abusing Maddie and being the perpetrator in the videos and images for Madeline to get justice on that. Hold on just a minute. All right, so I'm going to play this. We're going to listen to it and we're going to talk about it. I would like to look up some of the stuff that is referenced in this video as well. And I thought we could do that and learn some things this here day together. Hey, y'all, I don't know if you've been following the Stearns case, but we had an exciting event happen for Maddie in her favor the other day. Judge Keith Carsten denied Stephan Stern's attorney's motions to suppress the cell phone evidence. Now, let me just say, I got these documents via Plunder. She said something, she posted on her Patreon that the docket called and she was able to get them. I have pinned her link at the top of the comment section. Both of their links are also in the description box. I have requested these documents, but obviously today is the 4th of July and it's a Friday. So all government agencies are closed today. They will be closed tomorrow because it's Saturday. They will be closed Sunday because it's Sunday. So the earliest I would have been able to get these documents would have been Monday, had it not been for Plunder and the docket. So if you guys have not subscribed to them, Plunder is pinned to the top of the chat box. They're also both linked in the description box. Please do so. Did you dance in today, all? Anders said, but I don't understand why it took him so long. I've thought that Maria Tangler knew what she was doing all along. I thought she did too, and I felt that way. And he goes over his reasoning and things, so I was very interested to read these, and I was very excited to go over it with you guys because he lays out his reasoning for ruling the way he did. Now, to put that into context, The cell phone evidence, the Google Drive, contained all of the images and videos of Stephan Stearns specifically abusing Maddie. If that evidence was suppressed, there would be no CSAM case. Yes, there was a USB drive with, I do believe, off the top of my head, 35,000 other images and videos. But from my understanding, in those videos and images, Stephan Stearns was not the perpetrator. Stephan Stearns was not on those videos abusing children. The photos and videos that showed Stephan Stearns abusing Maddie were all contained on his Google Drive and his cell phone. So if that evidence had been suppressed, we'd basically have no CSAM case. Let us all take a moment to be grateful and exceedingly appreciative that Judge Keith Carsten denied these motions. Now, today is the 4th of July. I hope that you are all enjoying the holiday with your family. Happy birthday, America. Plunder was able to get these documents. I have requested them, but today, as I just stated, is July 4th. It is a Friday. So before I would get my motions back, I would have to wait for today because the office is closed. They're obviously closed on Saturday and Sunday. So it appears that it would be at least Monday before I get my documents. Again, thank goodness for the wonderful YouTuber Plunder and also the Docket who got these documents. I am going to link them in the description box below. If you have not subscribed to them, please do so. You will not regret it. And with that, let's go ahead and read these motions. What did Judge Keith Carsten have to say about it? What is his reasoning? This document is the state of Florida as the plaintiff versus Stephan Michael Stearns, the defendant. And it is an order denying defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful searches of cell phone and motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful seizure of cell phone. I will let you know this is document 1 of 2 that you. So the 2 motions to suppress were entered as 2 separate documents, and we went over that on my page. I'll pull that up real quick. Where is it? If you want to hear the motions that they filed, basically their Stephan Stearns and his attorney's reasonings stating why it needed to be filed, why the search of the cell phone was illegal, while the seizure of the cell phone was illegal, and why the Google Drive was illegal. All of that information where I'm reading those documents are in this video titled OCSO Messed Up. All CSAM evidence could be thrown out from 4 months ago. If you want to read basically what they were saying at the time, Judge Keith Carsten, in his response that we're listening to right now, combined his response to the illegal search and the illegal seizure of the cell phone into one document. And that's what we're about to listen to. He was able to get. The document reads, this matter came before the court upon defendant's, quote, motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful searches of cell phone, unquote, and, quote, motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful seizure of cell phone, unquote, filed on February 6th of 2025 and corrected on April 29th of 2025. The court, having reviewed these motions, the state's responses, the arguments presented at the hearing on April 23rd of 2025, the court file, and being otherwise fully advised of the premises, finds as follows. Now, we did go over Stern's hearing. I recorded it live, and I was thinking about dropping the link to that in there. I wanted to see where that was at in our live streams. It's probably way back, but I did want to show y'all that real quick. I think it's yeah, here we go. So this was streamed 2 months ago. It is titled Stern's hearing on the motion to continue. Oh, that's to continue the court date. I think it's in that one as well. That's 34 minutes where he came to court. And then, oh, okay, I apologize. So it's this one. Hearing on the motions to throw out all CSAM evidence on Maddie. And it was streamed 2 months ago. And it has that thumbnail. It says live hearing on motions to throw out all CSAM evidence. If you guys want to watch the hearing and where they presented their evidence. Now, Scratch the Paint, along with many, many, many others, have referenced Stephan taking a plea deal like Brian Koberger did. I don't think personally that he'll be offered a plea deal. I think the state of Florida wants to nail his ass to the wall, and I don't think that they are concerned in any way, shape, or form about the evidence they have and their ability to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And like Anders had stated, him abusing Maddie with the CSAM will also weigh in for the death penalty at the murder trial because it establishes an aggravating factor. He has been convicted of a felony. Therefore, the nature of the felony of the CSAM and the felonious murder of Madeline makes him eligible for the death penalty because he's got two heinous, violent felonies. I was going to say felonious. Vera said he's delusional, thinking that to have his hopes up as to something good coming out of the trial makes me want to slap his stupid face. Girl, you don't even know. You don't even know. It's insane. Next subsection reads, motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful searches of cell phone. Defendant argues that the initial search of defendant's phone exceeded the scope of his limited consent. Specifically, defendant contends that while defendant consented to certain searches of his phone, the detectives exceeded the narrow scope of these searches. Warrantless searches are per se unreasonable, subject to only a few specifically established exceptions, citing Katz versus United States from 1967. Okay, so I wanted to kind of look these up with you guys. So it says warrantless searches are per se unreasonable, subject to only a few specifically established exceptions. Katz versus United States, 1967. So let's look up that and see what we got from that. KATZ, 1967. Well, here's a breakdown that we can watch real quick. Vera said a plea deal I would definitely accept is going to be asked to take the death penalty out off the table in exchange for telling what Jen Soto's knowledge and involvement was in Maddie's demise. That's a great thing you just did there, and we're gonna do another poll in relation to that because I would love to know what you guys would do in that situation if that was offered. So let's end this poll. I got 2 haters in here today. 2% of the people watching is haters, evidently. So let's see. Would you, I have to shorthand it. Would you be happy with SS plea take DPOFF or JS? Oh my goodness. KNOWLEDGE. Knowledge to. Would you be happy with Stephan Stern's plea to take death penalty off for Jen Soto knowledge to be admitted? Let's do CSAM first. For her knowledge to be admitted in reference specifically to the CSAM, not the homicide. So basically what I'm asking you is if they offered a plea deal to Stephan, why is it not? Thank you. Okay. Basically what I'm asking you is if they gave Stephan Stearns a plea deal stating that we'll take the death penalty off the table if you tell us what Jen knew and if she participated specifically in the CSAM. How would you feel about that? And then we'll do the homicide in just a minute. All right, Katz versus United States. Again, this was referenced when Judge Keith Carsten said warrantless searches are per se unreasonable, subject only to a few specifically established exceptions. They cited Katz versus United States from 1967. We have a short video, I do believe, right here that's going to explain that.
Imagine that you call someone and take steps to make sure that no one else can hear your conversation.
This is titled Katz versus United States, Case Brief Summary, Law Case Explained. I don't know what, I guess it's from Law Case Explained.
May police officers, without the consent of either of you, freely listen in? Or do they need a search warrant for that? The United States Supreme Court addressed this issue in Katz versus United States, one of the most important Fourth Amendment cases in the court's history.
So if you were having a private conversation that you thought was private and then you find out the police are listening in, how would you feel about that? I mean, I would think they have a right to listen in. A lot of states are one-party states, meaning that they can record a phone call without your knowledge and it's not against the law.
Charles Katz went into a public payphone booth on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. He closed the door and called bookies in Boston and Miami. FBI agents.
Okay, let's see what a bookie is. He said, give me the third game -5 for 2 dimes. So I'm assuming it's some kind of betting. Too difficult, unable to answer. Do you want to type your answer, Joy? If you want to do that, I'll read it. Okay, as to the CSAM, I don't think she was involved. Maybe knowledge has turned a blind eye, in my opinion. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do one. You're a bookie, Nessa, are you? Good to see you. I'm going to do one on the homicide as well. And then throw eggs and any ham, cut up veggies in the pie thingy. Oh, you're talking about a quiche? My mama used to make them all the time. I haven't tried to make one, but y'all talk about them a lot. I think I might try. Like when Jen asked Stephan Stearns, hey, you want to hook up? Stephan answered, sure, I guess. Bookie is betting. Yes, thank you.
FBI agents knew that Katz was using the payphone to place illegal bets on basketball games, which violated federal laws against interstate gambling. Without a search warrant, agents placed an electronic listening device on the outside of the phone booth, enabling them to listen in and record Katz's side of the conversation.
It says, are you recording that? They said yes.
In the recording, Katz was clearly making bets. Using that recording, the federal government later obtained an indictment from a grand jury.
Look at all these jurors looking at him so angry. They all look angry. Everybody in this picture looks angry. It's a turf account. I take bets and hedge them. Interesting. So you were being serious. Huh. Interesting. Anders said if they have strong suspicions, they should be able to tap the phone. I agree. In the state of Arkansas, we have what is called one-party consent. That means as long as one person knows, then it's legal. Exactly, Dainty. That's in a lot of states.
The indictment charged Katz with multiple counts of illegal interstate gambling. Katz pleaded not guilty and had a jury trial. At trial, Katz objected to the admission of the recordings on the ground that the agents had engaged in an unconstitutional search and seizure.
So again, it's related to Stephan because they were citing it was an unconstitutional search and seizure of his cell phone. Mr. Katz is telling the judge these recordings are unconstitutional, and the judge said objection overruled. And he represents the United States District Court for the Southern District of California love.
The district court overruled the objection, and the jury convicted Katz. Katz appealed to the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, which affirmed his conviction.
So, hold on. We packed that up.
And the jury convicted Katz. Katz appealed to the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, which affirmed his conviction.
So he appealed, and the United States Supreme Court affirmed his conviction. So that might have been on the side of the defense. I mean, the DA side. So they basically said that even though he didn't know he was being recorded, everything was legal and constitutionally valid. While consent is one exception to the warrant requirement, the state has the burden of proving that consent was freely and voluntarily given, citing Scheckenkloth versus Bustamante from 1973. Under Florida law, the state must show by clear and convincing evidence that the defendant freely and voluntarily consented to the search, citing Bailey versus State from 1975. So now we've got Bailey versus State from 1975. Oh, we don't got a video for that one. Billy Diamond Bailey was convicted for the offense of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon with intent to kill. After former conviction of a felony, his punishment was fixed at a term of 45 years imprisonment, and he appeals, reversed, and remanded for a new trial. No, there's no videos on it, so I think that's about the briefest breakdown we're going to get for that. And again, that was cited because they said, where is it? Okay. The state must show by clear and convincing evidence that the defendant freely and voluntarily consented to the search. So basically, it falls on the DA to show that Stephan voluntarily gave the phone over and all of that and said, you can search my device. When consent is obtained after illegal police activity, such as an unauthorized search or arrest, the unlawful police action presumptively taints and renders involuntary any consent to search. Basically, if the police break the law in order to obtain evidence or search an item or seize an item or place of residence, what have you, then anything that they gain from that is illegal. Let's say the police kick my door in and there's no exigent circumstances. I'm just sitting in there drinking a cup of coffee. They roll up, kick my damn door in, and they find that I've got a meth lab in my basement. Okay. If there was no search warrant beforehand and they didn't hear somebody scream inside or they didn't think somebody was in there being murdered, then I could fight that. And basically, the court would say that even though you found a meth lab in a allegedly speculating's basement, you had no right to kick in her door to begin with. So, therefore, her cooking meth cannot be held against her, if that makes any sense. I think there was a lot of pics leaked for money on Telegram. Maria even said they would download his phone. Yep. Becky P said, he's ridiculous. We all heard him hand over his phone willingly, and we did. They asked him several times, can I see your phone? Yes, yes, yes. Or do I need an order? No, that's fine. Yep. Queen Olive, I'm glad that the grandbabies are there. Oh, I hope they have a good wedding. I hope you have a 4th of July too, babe. Bogart said, yes, it does. There is no bright line test for determining the scope of consent to a warrantless search. Such a determination is made on a case by case basis, citing Allen versus State from 2005. The scope of the search is generally limited to what a reasonable person would have understood to be the object of the search during the exchange between the person and the police, citing Jacobs versus State from 1999. Okay, my mouse was acting funny, so I had to charge it for a second. We've got 2 to look up, and now that's going to be, oh my goodness. All right, so we're just going to look up here Jacobs versus State from 1999. Um, I mean, I want to break down. Here. The state charged Jacobs with possession of cocaine, count 1, possession of cannabis, count 2, and possession of drug paraphernalia, count 3. Jacobs filed a pretrial motion to suppress, which the trial court denied. Jacobs subsequently entered a plea of no contest, reserving his right to appeal the denial of the motion to suppress. The issue on appeal is the scope of consent to a request to take, quote, a quick look around, unquote, when that request is coupled with information regarding the object of the search. Although Jacobs denied consenting to the search at trial, he concedes that a construction of the facts most favorable to sustaining the trial court's ruling requires a final finding that he did consent to the search. Basically, police came in and asked to, quote, take a, quote, quick look around, unquote. They found his coke, they found his weed, and he later said it was unconstitutional because he didn't say that they could do that, and they later found that it was constitutional and that the police had every right to look at his house because he did give them permission to take a quick look around. What are you asking? I know, little twin olives, so cute. I didn't find your question. I wonder if he leaked pics for money. The police officer arrested. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would have said no to begin with, but we just found out he was busted with a $26 million gambling operation. I don't know. I would think with that kind of money you wouldn't have to, but I mean, I guess it gets addicting getting that kind of money. Can't imagine all these issues back when there weren't recorders or body cams. I know. Could you? I mean, it's a lot. You would be shocked how much money is laundered through bookies due to it being money from ill-gotten gain. I know I would. I'm happy as time passes by with technology and CCTV and all these things murderers and other people do are more likely to get caught. Absolutely. Hey, Skits West Side Crime Music, and thank you for saying thank you. The state avers that defendant's argument depends on his misleading and incomplete recitation of the limited consent he gave to Detective Tangler. The court agrees. On February 27, 2024, Detective Tangler and Detective Acosta interviewed defendant at his residence. The detectives were in plain clothes, defendant was not in handcuffs, and defendant was free to leave. At 7:37 p.m., Detective Tangler asked permission to look at his Maps app in his phone. Defendant answered, quote, "Yeah, that's fine," unquote. Defendant willfully and voluntarily unlocked his cell phone and handed it to Detective Tangler. Detective Tangler soon thereafter asked permission to take a picture of his history. Defendant again consented. At 7:57 p.m., Detective Tangler asked again if defendant could unlock his phone so they could view its contents. Defendant willfully and voluntarily unlocked the phone. The detectives interviewed defendant a second time the following day. During the interview, Detective Tangler asked permission specifically to download his phone and asked defendant if he needed a warrant for his phone. Defendant again consented and provided the detectives his PIN number for his phone. No evidence suggests that at this point the detectives exceeded the scope of their search in any unreasonable manner.
Hey.
The evidence makes clear that defendant unlocked his cell phone and gave it to Detective Tangler on multiple occasions and unequivocally consented to them viewing map data and documenting his search history. So my concern was basically that he unequivocally gave consent for them to look at his map data and his call history, but not everything else. I'm glad that Judge Keith Carsten saw through this and denied their motion to suppress. Even after Detective Tangler asked if a warrant is needed, defendant nevertheless consented. Most importantly, defendant gave consent to law enforcement to, quote, download, unquote, the cell phone and to go, quote, through the phone, unquote. So yeah, when he gave consent to download, I mean, that pretty much sealed the deal, right? And again, I wanted to let you know and just reiterate that this document is from Plunder. She's in the description box and pinned at the top of the chat box. Please give her a like and subscribe if you have not already done so. A reasonable person under the circumstances would understand the scope of consent to include access to all contents that were searched in this case, including call history. Furthermore, the evidence is clear that defendant was free to leave and that detectives interacted with him without coercive tactics. Consequently, the state has established by clear and convincing evidence that defendant freely and voluntarily consented to the searches and that law enforcement did not exceed the scope of defendant's consent. Now, that was about the search of the cell phone. Now we're about to talk. Now it's going to talk about the seizure. I'm going to end this poll and we're going to question about the homicide trial specifically, but I wanted to show y'all we're almost neck and neck. The question again was, would you be happy with Stephan's plea to take the death penalty off the table for him admitting or saying or telling what Jen Soto knew in reference specifically to the child sexual abuse material involving Maddie? And it was almost tied. 56% of you said yes, 44% said no. So while we listen about the unlawful seizure that he's about to go over, I'm going to start the next poll. The next subsection is titled Motion to Suppress Evidence Obtained from Unlawful Seizure. Hold on, I put up the wrong one. I'm sorry. I don't know why it went back to that one. So now we're back on this one. I'm going to take it back a couple seconds. Okay. It's titled Motion to Suppress Evidence Obtained from Unlawful Seizure of Cell Phone. Defendant contends that his cell phone was unlawfully seized by Detective Tengler for over 9.5 hours. Okay, I apologize about that. I was looking at where I had the poll and it was showing a different part of the video, so I got confused. I apologize about that. Oh, thank you for doing that. Plunder always has, like, she gets stuff out really quick and always has great information. You definitely will not regret subscribing to her. Anders said he thought it would be fine since he had factory resetted the phone twice. Exactly. I believe he does, Hannah. He's protecting her. It's very obvious in his conversation with his parents. He never said, oh, no, please, Jen had nothing to do with this, not helped cover this up. I agree. That's just my opinion, though. And we respect everybody's thoughts and opinions. I don't have a problem with him being in prison terrified for decades. Yeah. Without consent or probable cause. To support this claim, defendant asserts that Detective Tengler made no attempt to obtain a warrant despite the availability to do so. The evidence demonstrates that Detective Tengler had probable cause to believe there was evidence of a crime contained in defendant's cell phone at the time of the seizure. Probable cause requires a practical, non-technical probability that incriminating evidence is involved, citing Texas versus Brown from 1983. Probable cause only requires that facts available to an officer would warrant a person of reasonable caution in the belief that certain items may be useful as evidence of a crime. I'm going to stop here and let you know that I'm going to fill in what I believe to be the redacted words on this document using the context of the sentences around the words. Lady K Talks, thank you for being here. Lady K Talks said, in my opinion, that was the original deal he and Jen made. If caught, it's on you, Stephan. Just my opinion. I agree. I think that's very possible. And his mom even said in the beginning that she felt like he was taking the blame for the homicide. In reference to because he felt guilty about the CSAM stuff. Going more into what you said, she references the Woody Allen situation. She says that they oogled together over Stephan. I don't think that it's possible that she didn't know that there was abuse going on in the home. I think my personal opinion is that she found out for whatever reason. I think that's why they originally broke up. And then, however, for whatever reason or somehow, Stephan convinced uh, Jen that him and Maddie being together, like he made her feel like it was okay or acceptable. And maybe he had groomed Maddie long enough and enough to think that it was acceptable and that it was something that she agreed to as well. And Jen condoned it in the house and said, we can't tell anybody outside of the house. And I think that's why she said the CSAM stuff was not evil, but the homicide was, and he would never do that. And she knew he would never do that. And he wouldn't lie to her. I think she felt like he wouldn't lie to her because he told her this one big thing that made her think, well, if he told me this, there's no reason for him to lie to me. Like if he gave me this information that's so damning, why would he ever lie to me? And I think the information was the CSAM. I think it was Madeline's abuse, unfortunately. That's just my theory, though. Continuing with the document. As the state correctly points out in its response, at the time of seizure, Detective Tangler knew that Maddie had Hey, been Laura. missing for over 24 hours, and defendant was consistently identified as the last person to have seen Maddie prior to her disappearance. Additionally, law enforcement had tag reader evidence that defendant was not being truthful with regards to his movements on February 26, 2024. Anders said, but they don't think they can build a case against Jennifer without Stephan taking a plea. Um, so in theory for the poll, I'm just saying, like, if they came to Stephan and said, all right, we'll take the death penalty off the table if you tell us what Jen knew about the homicide, and that's going on that, like, she knew about it, she was involved, she helped for whatever reason, would you be okay with Stephan Stearns taking that plea deal in exchange for him telling what Jen knew about the homicide? Now, if the DA, this is just a theory, okay? But if the DA was going to approach him with a plea deal like that, then it would be to pursue charges for Jen. So in this theory, yes, that would mean Jen would be held accountable, because I really feel like, again, that the DA is not pressing charges because they don't have enough that they can prove definitively in court without a reasonable doubt. You think so too, Lady K? Yeah. I have my theory. Someday I'll tell you what I think happened and why their agreement. You think so? I would love to know. If Stephan doesn't talk, apparently Jen will be free forever. Even law enforcement hates Jen. They know she's involved, but have no evidence, unfortunately. Her own family knows she's guilty, in my opinion. I think so. Hey, Supero, happy 4th. Also, in my opinion, I think money was part of the agreement. Selling CSAM, in my opinion, so sad. I think so too. I do, because you don't have 1,700 images and videos for personal use, in my opinion. Happy 4th of July. Hope you have a good day, sweetheart. Jen's birthday was a week after Maddie's. I wonder if Stephan wormed his way in back promising gifts for Jen. Just a thought. That's possible, Jenny Jen. Very possible. It seems like they are not going to charge her as it is today. You're for Jennifer going to prison. Yeah. I think if they had enough evidence to charge her, they would, but I think they don't have enough evidence. The DA is not going to pursue charges unless they're confident that they'll get a conviction. And I just think it's not there's not enough there. Plus, they've got an immunity deal with her because evidently they don't have enough evidence. I mean, I think they were pretty positive she knew more than she was letting on. I think that's why they gave her the immunity interview, honestly. Defendant also regularly used his cell phone to speak with Maddie. Consequently, the court finds that the facts available to Detective Tangler after consensually searching defendant's phone is evidence that would warrant a person reasonable caution in the. I apologize for cutting out. Sometimes my internet does that. I hate it when that happens. Belief that the phone may be useful as evidence of a crime. Furthermore, Detective Tangler had exigent circumstances to seize the phone. The test of whether exigent circumstances exist is an objective one, citing United States versus Tobin from 1991. Whether exigent circumstances exist is a fact fact-specific inquiry that depends on the totality of the circumstances. So they said the test of whether exigent circumstances exist is an objective one, and they cited United States versus Tobin from 1991. Let's look at that. U.S. versus Tobin 1991. I wish they would give me another video like we had on the other one. All right, real quick. Southern said, in my opinion, I think Jen told Stephan, if we get caught, you're already going down for the CSAM. You should also take the blame for the homicide. No need for both to go down. And I think all of these things are very possible. Vera said, Jen said he never gave her money or helped at all. He was lazy and never wanted to work. She said that herself. And even Yolanda said that's the reason why she didn't like him, plus all his illnesses. That's true. That was said. All right, U.S. versus Tobin. I want to find basically a quick breakdown. Provides public litigation. Okay, hold on. So it's in reference to a warrantless police entry into domicile, general rule and exceptions. The courts have established firmly that warrantless police entry into a domicile is presumptively unlawful, but there are some well-defined exceptions to this general rule. In United States versus Tobin, the magistrate and district court found that the police had reasonable suspicion of criminal activity when they approached the defendant's house. The key issue was whether the police officer's conduct at the door of the house, which afforded him the opportunity to smell the marijuana, precipitated an impermissible search to which the defendant did not consent. A police officer's approach to a criminal suspect's home to make general inquiries is not a search as long as the door is not opened in response to a threat or command, because in its view, the agent's conduct at the door amounted to a demand of entry under color of authority. However, it was found that the opening of the door constituted a search to which the defendant could not have consented. So basically, what happened specifically in that case is that they knocked on his door, he opened the door, and they smelled weed, and so they went in. And this was 1991, weed was illegal. And that is law now. Like, if you open the door and they smell marijuana and marijuana is illegal in your state, they have a right to enter. Just like hearing somebody screaming for help, they have a right to enter. Fighting United States versus Aureliano Olcha from 2006. The fear of imminent destruction of evidence must be objectively reasonable. Citing State versus Darter from 2022. Specifically in determining whether state agents reasonably feared imminent destruction of the evidence, the inquiry is whether the facts, as they appeared at the moment of entry, would lead a reasonable, experienced agent to believe that evidence might be destroyed before a warrant could be secured. Here, evidence shows that Detective Tangler had an objectively reasonable fear that the cell phone would have been later destroyed prior to securing a warrant. Detective Tangler, based on the answers of defendant, had a reasonable belief that he had attempted to destroy cell phone evidence by factory resetting it at some point during that same day. The destruction of the cell phone was also likely more imminent after meeting with Detective Tangler and Acosta, given that he knew he was under suspicion and they showed interest in his phone. Now, with that, I think that if they had not done what they did and taken the cell phone at that point in time, I think that information would have been deleted or he would have gotten rid of the phone altogether. So I think if Detective Tangler had not obtained, searched, seized the cell phone when she did, that we would not have the evidence of the CSAM. Scratch the Paint said, in my opinion, Jen did not know about the homicide until it was too late and she told him where to take her. You think so? See, even at that point, though, like if somebody approached you with this and they've committed a homicide, your significant other of your child, and I'm going to call him her significant other because, I mean, they were on and off again for so long. There's no point in denying that, in my opinion. If that person approached you and was like, hey, I killed your child, like we can we can hide the body or we're both going to jail. I'm sorry, I'm calling 911. I'm going to be like, no, we're going to go ahead and handle this the right way. That's just me. Because law enforcement was under the reasonable belief that destruction of cell phone was imminent, and they had probable cause to believe there was evidence of a crime contained on the cell phone. Detective Tangler's seizure of defendant's phone was lawful. Accordingly, it is hereby ordered and judged that 1. Defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful searches of cell phone is denied. 2. Defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful seizure of cell phone is denied. I liked how he put both of those motions together and just answered them both in one document. Done and ordered in chambers in Osceola County, Kissimmee, Florida, this first day of July 2025. While I grab this other document, again, let us thank goodness that Judge Keith Carsten decided to rule that way. Maddie got a win July 1st in court. Second document. State of Florida as the plaintiff versus Stephan Michael Stearns, the defendant. This is a order denying defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from Google search warrant. Keep in mind again that everything obtained from the Google search warrant is going to be all the pictures, videos, and images of Madeline. So basically, and I think I do go over it in this document, they searched and seized the cell phone, okay? And then so that what we just heard was his talking in reference to that. And then after they did that, they were able to obtain all the videos and images of Madeline by accessing his Google account. So this document specifically talks about where they got all the images and videos and things like that that they need for the CSAM trial, the whole damn case. First document was like how we obtained all the images, which was again the search and seizure of the cell phone. This document is the images and videos. I wanted to show y'all real quick with this poll. It was almost exactly the same. We've got yes at 57% and no at 43%. And the question was, would you be okay with a plea deal taking the death penalty off the table for Stephan Stearns if he admitted Jen Soto's knowledge of Madeline Soto's homicide if she's involved? And as of right now, that's where that's at. See, they first had to get his phone. So that's
Hey,
what
Vicky.
the first issue was about. The order denying all of that.
Oh,
They're
no.
saying that the detectives obtained the phone legally. They searched the phone legally. And now we're going over why it was legal for them to search his Google account, which is where all of the abuse of Maddie was contained in video and photo format. It reads, real quick, Nessa said the only plea he can fall back on is insanity, but he's proved himself to be conniving, and that's very true. He's very conniving and manipulative. Matter came before the court upon defendant's quote motion to suppress evidence obtained from Google search warrant unquote filed on February 6th of 2025 and corrected on April 29th of 2025. The court, having reviewed the motion, the state's response, the arguments presented at the hearing on April 23, 2025, the court file, and being otherwise fully advised of the premises, finds as follows. Analysis and ruling. Defendant contends that all evidence obtained through the Google warrant must be suppressed. To support his claim, defendant makes three main arguments. This subsection is titled 1. Google warrant relied entirely on illegally obtained evidence. Defendant first asserts that law enforcement exceeded the scope of Mr. Stearns' initial consent, retained his phone without proper authorization, and conducted a coerced midnight download. Because law enforcement used the information extracted from the searches to support the application for the Google warrant, defendant alleges the state cannot justify the warrant under any attenuation or independent source doctrine because the warrant was built entirely on tainted evidence and intentional misconduct. His attorneys are saying that everything obtained from Google, y'all got it on your your conduct to obtain all of this Google information was tainted and you did it on purpose. It was intentional misconduct. You knew what you were doing. You did it on purpose. You took his phone. He didn't have a choice. He was out in the cold and he was hungry and it was cold and he hadn't sat down. And oh my God. Defendant concludes that the evidence must therefore be suppressed as fruit of the poisonous tree. Defendant fails to establish that his searches were coerced or otherwise improper. The evidence makes clear that defendant willfully and voluntarily unlocked his cell phone and gave it to Detective Tangler on multiple occasions and unequivocally consented to them viewing map data and documenting his search history. Even after Detective Tangler asked if a warrant is needed, defendant nevertheless consented during interviews. Most importantly, defendant gave consent to law enforcement to, quote, download, unquote, the cell phone and to go, quote, through the phone, unquote. A reasonable person under these circumstances would understand the scope of the consent to include access to all contents that were searched in this case. Basically, he said that they could download it. So, I mean, that would leave any reasonable person to believe they were getting everything off that damn cell phone. He just thought he did the master reset because he's just so damn smart, didn't you know? He's almost a genius level, didn't you know? Southern Cat said it was cold. It was freaking 60 degrees. Yeah, we're not up in like northern Siberia in February, right? We're in Florida, like one of the warmest places year round in the United States. I'm going to need him to take 15 seats and sit all the damn way down. Right, Lady K. He agreed. There's no question. Exactly. I want to make a dish called Palake Painter. Painter is a cheese you can make from ordinary milk. Really? I'll have to look that up, Anders. Sounds interesting. Including call history and GPS data. During interviews with law enforcement, defendant was free to leave. Consequently, defendant freely and voluntarily consented to the searches and that law enforcement did not exceed the scope of defendant's consent. The state is therefore correct in its response that law enforcement relied on information properly obtained during consensual searches of defendant's cell phone to support the affidavit for search warrant. Consequently, the warrant at issue was not tainted and was not constitutionally invalid as fruit of illegal searches. Subsect. So again, it wasn't illegal. Hannah said if he's cold at 60 degrees, he needs to have his folic acid and iron levels checked. Those two vitamins make one cold. I'm sure he was very deficient in everything you could possibly be deficient in. I mean, we know he wasn't eating what he needs to be eating to sustain a normal person. I wouldn't be surprised if all he ate was Doritos and Mountain Dew. Like, I don't know, childlike, just man child. I can't express that enough. I know they're killing me in the comments. Hey, 60 is cold in Florida. I wish it stayed 60 all year around here. That would be nice. Yeah, he was cold because he got caught. Cold-blooded murderer, that's right. Section 2. The warrant application fails to establish probable cause. Next, defendant asserts that the warrant application fails to establish probable cause. To establish probable cause, a supporting affidavit for issuance of a search warrant, quote, must satisfy two elements. First, that a particular person has committed a crime, the commission element, and the second, that evidence relevant to the probable criminality is likely located at the place to be searched, the nexus element, citing Sanchez versus State from 2014. A magistrate is not required to leave common sense at the courthouse door when evaluating whether a supporting affidavit satisfies the nexus element and supports a finding of probable cause. So that one was, I did look up, hold on, I was doing the other one. So that was SANCHEZ from 2014. The state, okay. The state charged defendant with homicide and other crimes, charging the homicide count as willful, deliberate, and premeditated homicide, and alternatively as felony homicide in the preparation of burglary. During the jury trial, appellate's theory of defense was that the felony homicide rule did not apply because of the underlying felony burglary was complete before the homicide happened, and thus the death did not occur during the preparation or during the perpetration or attempted perpetration of a felony. He was convicted of first-degree murder with the use of a deadly weapon, aggravated stalking, and burglary. So basically, they tried to charge him with homicide and also homicide during the commission of a felony, which would have been burglary. And because the person was homicided after the burglary happened, then he couldn't be charged with committing a homicide while he was committing a burglary because technically the burglary had already happened. Now, I'm going to pull this up first and I'm going to take it back just a second so I can understand the context to that real quick because I didn't quite catch it. Hold on just a minute. A magistrate is not required to leave common sense at the courthouse door. I didn't take it back quite far enough. Okay. Okay, defendant asserts warrant application fails to establish probable cause. To establish probable cause, the supporting affidavit for issuance of a search warrant must satisfy two elements: that the particular person has committed a crime, the commission element, and second, the evidence relevant to the probable criminality is likely located in the place to be searched. So I don't understand the reference. I mean, I'm assuming that, like, it's saying that I don't know. I don't understand how, like, committing a felony and then a felony relates to, he's committed a crime and then evidence reveals that he probably committed a crime. I didn't quite get that reference, unfortunately. Maybe y'all can explain it to me what I'm not getting. Committed a crime. The commission element and the second, that evidence relevant to the probable criminality is likely located at the place to be searched. The nexus element, citing Sanchez versus State from 2014. Thank you, Lily Gal. I saw that you said prayers for everybody in Texas, and I was going to ask you what that was in reference to, what was going on, and I appreciate you letting me know. So, everybody that has dealing with flooding in Texas, I send my thoughts, prayers, and just hopes that everybody is okay your way. I know my bestie is in Texas. I'll have to make sure she's okay. Cindy said, well, to be fair, 60 until the sun's out in January, beginning of February, are our coldest time of year in southern Florida. Stephan Stearns was in central Florida, so they get 60 way more than we do. Thank you for that. Joy, did you experience the flooding? You said not here. Those flash floods are awful. 6 confirmed deceased already. Oh my God. My goodness, that is so sad. I'm sending thoughts and prayers to their families. A magistrate is not required to leave common sense at the courthouse door when evaluating whether a supporting affidavit satisfies the nexus element and supports a finding of probable cause, citing State versus Williams from 2010. I do have that pulled up. That was the one I pulled up just a second ago. Brief fact. Okay, let's see. Defendants Walter and Bernice Williams were found guilty of manslaughter for negligently failing to supply their infant child with necessary medical attention, as a result of which the child died. The basis of the conviction was ordinary negligence. Defendants were aware their son was ill during the 2-week period beginning September 1st of 1968. However, they did not realize the extent of the child's illness and as a result failed to seek medical attention for the child. The child died and defendants were charged and convicted of manslaughter. The basis of the conviction was ordinary negligence, the defendant's appeal. The issue, was there sufficient evidence from which the court could find that a reasonable person under similar conditions would have been sufficiently put on notice concerning the severity of the child's medical condition, such as failure to seek medical care constituted a breach of duty? So it stated, I think that's not the same one because it said 2010. I'm going to another one. It's not letting me pull it up. That might have been a different case because this one is from 2010, not the 60s. No. Don't understand that. Oh, Lordy geez. I mean, I can pull up the document, but it doesn't give me a synopsis. Okay. A jury found Melissa Williams guilty of complicity to rape, complicity to kidnapping, complicity to sexual battery, and sexual battery. The trial court sentenced her to 11 years in prison and classified her as sexually oriented offender under Megan's Law. After the legislature enacted the Adam Walsh Act, the state told Miss Williams she would be reclassified as a Tier 3 sex offender. Miss Williams was moved for relief from the community notification requirements imposed on her under the new act. Following a hearing, the court granted her motion. It concluded that not only was Miss Williams entitled to relief under the doctrine of res judicata, but also under factors listed in the section of Ohio Reverse Code. The state has appealed, assigning an error that the trial court incorrectly concluded that prohibited the imposition of mandatory community notification on Miss Williams. The court affirms because the state has not challenged the court's determination that Miss Williams should be relieved from community notification under the factors listed. So is it, I mean, I guess it's basically saying that she doesn't have to register or something? A person would not be subject to the notification provisions of the section existed immediate to the amendment. So basically, whether a person would have been subject to the notification provisions under prior law. Because of a prior law, like she didn't know about a prior law is what I'm assuming it means, and therefore didn't know to notify, and there was a new law enacted and she has to notify under that law because she wasn't aware of the previous law, I'm assuming. The next 2 paragraphs has redactions, and I'm going to fill in what I believe the redactions to say using the context around the redactions. Continuing with the document. Here, the affidavit for search warrant for defendant's Google account provided a sufficient basis for the court to determine that evidence related to child pornography would likely be found on defendant's Google account. Specifically, the affidavit points to the fact that defendant Factory reset his phone the same day Madeline was last seen. Detective Heller also indicated that interviews of defendant were conducted and that defendant consented to a search of his phone. During the search, several files of, quote, child sexual abuse material involving Madeline, unquote, were located. So it does reference, and it did reference in the United States versus Williams, the nexus element, and I wanted to look that up. The nexus element is a point of contention in criminal cases in Florida courts. It refers to the connection between the evidence to be seized and the location of the search. The nexus requirement is essential to determine probable cause and avoid suppression of evidence. So it's very paramount in this case. basically, if I'm understanding it right, they're saying that they had every right using the Nexus element to get the CSAM off of Stephan Stern's phone because it was located on the phone that had to be seized. Basically, the phone had to be seized in order to get the CSAM stuff. So it's the connection between the phone and everything located on Stern's Google Drive, which would have been all of the photos, videos, and everything um, showing the abuse of Madeline. Hey, Kalisa. Yeah, we're all doing homework today. We are. Furthermore, the affidavit stated that defendant's images were stored and backed up on his Google account. Additionally, the affidavit further describes that evidence related to interference of child custody was contained within defendant's Google account. That is curious to me, and I just started thinking about it as I was reading the document. Interference with child custody. Why is he being charged with that? Like, how did he interfere in the custody of Madeline with Jen Soto? If you guys have any ideas, let me know. You corrected it to say housework, but we are doing homework today. We're learning about the documents and what they mean and the cases and things like that. I enjoy learning about this stuff to help me understand these documents better. I think I have a decent understanding just on the fly, but I always like to learn more about it. So I enjoy looking up these things and sharing it with you guys. However, they stumbled on the CSAM. They were not searching. Right. Jinx. Detective Heller detailed that Madeline was reported missing by her mother on February 26th of 2024. And to be clear, when she said that, basically what she's saying is they weren't saying that we think that you have CSAM and videos and pictures on your phone. They were saying we need to search your phone to pull your GPS data to see where you've been because you lied to us. We can prove that you lied through license plate reader tags showing that you were, I don't know, for example, at the hotel putting Maddie's body in the trunk instead of where you said you were. So they stumbled upon the CSAM while they were looking for the GPS data location. He interfered with Jen's access to Maddie, but how? Because like Jen gave him permission to take her to school. So would it be because like he killed her allegedly and put her body somewhere else? Like, therefore, you're interfering with Jen's custody of Maddie because Maddie is not with Jen and you took Maddie somewhere else and disposed of her body, therefore making Jen unable to access the child who she has custody of. Like, I'm not exactly sure. That's what I kind of was trying to figure out by killing her. Okay. Defendant has stated that he dropped Maddie off at Peace United Methodist at 8:40 a.m., although classes did not start until nearly an hour later. However, a license plate reader captured defendant's vehicle tag traveling away from Hunters Creek Middle School at 8:10 a.m. Madeline never showed up to school. The state is correct that at the time the warrant application was filed, it was probable that other information on defendant's cell phone prior to the factory reset was backed up to his Google account, such as GPS data, which was described in the affidavit for search warrant. Based on the ample evidence which was relevant to the probable criminality likely located on his phone, the warrant application sufficiently established the nexus element. Consequently, the warrant application was backed by substantial evidence satisfying both prongs of Sanchez. Defendants claim that the warrant failed to establish probable cause is therefore without merit. Defendant further argues that the warrant was overbroad in its time frame for searches. The warrant permitted the search of data from January 1st of 2020 to present, yet, according to defendant, provided no factual basis for the expansive 4-year period. However, courts often note that child pornography collectors maintain their materials for significant periods of time, citing United States versus Perrine from 2008. Let's look that up. I'm going to have to get that name. U.S. versus P-E-R. Where is that? P-E-R-R-I-N-E. P-E-R-R-I-N-E. I think that's 2008, it said. In a prosecution for distribution, receipt, and or possession of child pornography, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and criminal forfeiture, denial of defendant's motion to suppress evidence and motion to dismiss are affirmed, where one, violations of the ECPA do not warrant exclusion of evidence. Basically, violations of, let me look up what the ECPA is. Violations of the Electronic Communications Privacy Act do not warrant exclusion of evidence. Okay. And the Electronic Communications Privacy Act is violated when a person or entity unlawfully accesses private communications such as emails, text messages, phone conversations, and money transfers. So, I mean, it tells you what what happens if you do. So basically, violations of your electronic protection do not warrant exclusion of evidence. Basically, you know, his cell phone conversations, his pictures, all of the images of Maddie, all the videos of Maddie do not warrant that to be excluded from evidence. Contrary to defendant's claim, the government did not violate the ECPA or Pennsylvania law with regard to affidavits and applications for court orders requiring internet service providers to reveal information about defendant. Defendant had no Fourth Amendment privacy expectation in the subscriber information he gave to ISPs. Affidavit in support of the search warrant for defendant's house provided sufficient information for a probable cause finding, and in any case, the good faith exception would apply, and the government did not engage in outrageous conduct. So basically, that's, again, I wanted to see what the good faith doctrine is real quick. Hold on. I can't do two things at once. Sorry. Hold on just a minute. Okay. Again, basically, let me show this to y'all. He can't say you violated my right to protection with my cell phone data because there was CSAM on it. Like it excludes it because there's evidence of a crime on your cell phone. So therefore your cell phone data is no longer private. The good faith doctrine has meanings in different contexts. So, in United States constitutional law and criminal procedure, it is one of the limitations on the exclusionary rule of the Fourth Amendment. In contract law, it refers to the general presumptions that parties will deal with each other honestly, fairly, and in good faith. In general, good faith means avoiding, I have no idea how to say that, chicanery and sharp practice in agreements of carrying out their terms. In criminal law, the good faith exception of law allows evidence obtained in relevance on an invalid warrant to be admissible if police officers were acting in good faith. And they were acting in good faith because they believed that Stephan's cell phone data would show the Google Maps and I pulled up the wrong one, the Google Maps, and tell them where he had been at that day, since again, they had already proved that he lied about where he was. If he was innocent, he wouldn't care about the phone. Yep, exactly. He locked Maddie in that room and refused access. Oh, for the custodial interference, he locked Maddie in the room and refused Jen access. But can we prove, like, again, we got to remember it's got to be provable in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt to 12 peers of the community. So can we prove in a court of law without a reasonable doubt that he locked Maddie in the room and basically told Jen that she couldn't access her anymore. Texas flash floods. Several kids are missing from a summer camp hit by, oh my God. I hope they find those children in Kernerville. Oh my goodness. That's so sad. A Christian girls camp. Oh my goodness. Lord, please help them find them. Here, there is evidence to support that defendant was an individual that fell into this category, given that the material was his stepdaughter and that it was located on his phone and backed up onto his Google account. Accordingly, the warrant is not tainted for having an overbroad temporal scope. The court also notes that the warrant affidavit was not overly reliant on generalized and boilerplate language about Google services. The state is correct that the implementation of standard language in the search warrant related to the operations of Google LLC is helpful and relevant in the affidavit. The boilerplate language was accompanied by ample case specific information. Subsection 3. The warrant lacks required particularity for digital searches. In his final argument, defendant contends that the warrant lacks required particularity for digital searches. Defendant avers that the warrant's authorization to search, quote, any and all stored electronic communications. He is not up here today, but you can say, hey, I'll give you my mic.
Hey,
There's a Mr.
everybody.
Speculating. Tell everybody happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.
Or files, unquote, associated with the Google account is impermissibly broad in violation of the Fourth Amendment. To support his claim, defendant cites Riley versus California from 2014. However, Riley is inapposite. In Riley, the Supreme Court of the United States held that a warrantless search of a cell phone seized incident to an arrest must generally be suppressed. So I did want to look up real quick. I didn't catch the day. Hopefully they'll have a video on that one. Riley versus U.S. I think is what it was. Riley versus California from 2014. Here's a case brief. Oh, it's another video. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I was like, give me another video like the other one. Okay, no, we're not going to do that. Well, dang it. It says police searched David Riley, the defendant, incident to an arrest and seized his smartphone from his pocket. The police searched the smartphone and used items found on it as evidence at Riley's trial on shooting charges brought by the state of California. Riley was convicted. On appeal, the state court of appeal determined that the warrantless search was a valid search incident to arrest. In consolidated case, Brema Reary was the defendant, had his flip phone seized from his person incident to arrest for drug sales. Police used items seized from the flip phone to secure a search warrant for the residence. The district court admitted evidence found in the residence at trial, but on appeal, the federal court of appeals held that evidence was fruit from an illegal search of the flip phone. The United States Supreme Court granted Centauri on both cases. So basically, they grabbed the phone from somebody's pocket and said, we see evidence that you shot somebody, and we see evidence in another case that you've been basically selling dope. And so we're going to use this evidence to go search your house and see what we can find there. And because they didn't get a warrant for a cell phone, it had to be thrown out. Right. And to be clear, Keith Carsten in Stern's case is referencing this because Stephan Stern's attorneys said, y'all can't do this because of this law right here. In Raleigh versus the state of California, this is what they said. And he's telling them why that doesn't apply here. Really does not address in a relevant and detailed manner how search warrants must be particularly detailed when authorizing searches of digital data. The state cites to United States versus Lamb from 1996. In Lamb, Mr. Mr. Speculating is from Arkansas. He is a hillbilly. I love him very much. Telegram had the truth about that night. He did. It did. Sorry. I see y'all said hey to him. Thank you guys for saying hey. I'm going to tell him y'all said hey. The locks were on the inside. So, okay. So you think that that could be proven? Like, if that's the route they're going with the interference of child custody, you think it could be like, I think they would have to prove that Jen attempted to access Maddie while she was in the room if we're using that to show that he interfered with her custody of Madeline. And to the contrary, she sent him up there with him. She sent she sent Madeline up there to be with him. You live in Arkansas. Oh, you love Arkansas. I like it too. I've only been there with him and it was pretty cool. He's from the Ozarks, so it was really pretty up there. The defendant challenged the particularity of the warrant when it sought, quote, all stored files in original format and individual files, unquote. The Northern District of New York noted that although the language does not limit the investigators to seizing only files of child pornography, the court noted that, quote, the actual content of a computer file usually cannot be determined until it is opened, unquote. The court held that the motion to exclude the pornography from the trial was denied. Moreover, the court agrees with the state that even if the warrant was impermissible as overbroad, the quote, good faith exception, unquote, nevertheless applies. The good faith exception applies when a law enforcement officer acting with objective good faith obtains a search warrant and acts in accordance with the warrant and scope. Suppression of the evidence obtained is not appropriate even if the court later determines that there was no probable cause. Citing United States versus Leon from 1984. Let's see what that one is. U.S. versus Leon, 1984. All right, let's see what this is. This is titled Supreme Court Breakdown, United States versus Leon from 1984.
In United States versus Leon in 1984, police obtained a warrant based on information from a confidential informant with unproven reliability.
Hey, Kathleen.
Police ultimately executed that warrant and arrested and charged several individuals with drug crimes. Under the law of the time, however, the warrant was invalid because it lacked probable cause. So what happens when police obtain evidence of a crime operating in good faith, and yet it later turns out that the warrant was invalid because it lacked probable cause? You may be thinking, well, bad warrant means bad arrest or bad search, which means that any evidence obtained must be suppressed under the exclusionary rule.
I mean, that's what I would think.
In United States versus Leon in 1984, the Supreme Court considered this very question and said, not so fast. How can this be? Let's find out. The Supreme Court first adopted the good faith exception to the exclusionary rule. The exception allows for evidence to be admitted against a criminal defendant based on a bad search or arrest warrant, so long as the officer was reasonable in relying on that warrant.
And I mean, I think that Detectives Hangler and Acosta were reasonable. I mean, they asked him several times. They asked his PIN number. They even asked, did they need to get a warrant? So I think they were reasonable in this instant.
In reaching this conclusion, the Supreme Court weighed the purpose of the exclusionary rule, which is to deter police misconduct, against a desire for all relevant evidence to be before a judge or jury when evaluating guilt or innocence. The Supreme Court reasoned that an officer who is acting in good faith based on a warrant that is facially valid would have no way of knowing that there's a problem with the warrant. The magistrate has already said that the search is justified, so at that point, the officer is simply doing their job. When we're dealing with a good faith situation, the scales then tip in favor of revealing the truth over deterring police misconduct because the deterrence value is so very small. In the words of the Supreme Court, in such circumstances, the exclusionary rule simply does not pay its way. So is this the end of the Fourth Amendment? Not quite. Courts worry about new rules or exceptions that may dramatically alter the legal landscape. So anytime you're dealing with a case that seems to do just that, ask yourself, what are the limiting principles that the court is putting in place? In Leon, the Supreme Court articulated 4 instances when the good faith to the exclusionary rule would not apply.
So basically, we're talking about, even the good faith doctrine, that even though it could have been a bad possible warrant, the good faith rule applies because, I mean, he had reason to believe that they were going to look at his cell phone and download the data. So, I mean, she expressed it several times. He handed his PIN number over several times, gave him permission to download his phone several, or at least once. So, um, I mean, the good faith rule applies. There's nothing that can be done. Nessa said, "How could she access if the locks were on the inside?" And I agree with that statement. My issue is, would she necessarily want to access Maddie while she was in the room with the locks on the inside? I think that's what would have to be proven in the court of law. Um, Not necessarily that the locks are on the inside and he's therefore interfering with her custody of Maddie or access to Maddie because of that, but would Jen want was she trying to gain access to Maddie while she was up there? And I think to the contrary, she sent Maddie up there to be with Stephan. So therefore, she's not trying to gain access to Maddie while she's up there. You understand? You know what I mean?
First, when the magistrate is misled by information in the search warrant affidavit. Second, when the magistrate has wholly abandoned their judicial role. Third, when the search warrant on its face lacks any indicia
Yeah.
of probable cause. And fourth, when the search warrant on its face lacks any specificity. So anytime you're dealing with a good faith exception instance, look for one of these 4 exceptions.
And again, what were the exceptions? Read that again. Yeah, Southern Cast, so she could sleep. Hey, Parabola, and hey, Ava Sim, and hey, Malibu Surf, and Tom. Everybody's coming in. Yeah, I agree. Jen was not trying to access Maddie while she was in the room with the doors locked because she gave 0 fucks. She sent them to get her good night's sleep for her 2 days off coming up. Exactly. Happy 4th of July, Malibu Surf. I hope you enjoy your day. I'm going camping next week in celebration, and I'm hoping that I have time to take the kids to see fireworks tonight. Tom said, wasn't playing hooky, just got back from fishing. Did you catch anything, Tom? That sounds fun. They fish when we go camping, which is again is what we're gonna do next week, but I don't really fish. I go out on my paddleboard and I look for herbs. The yarrow grows wild out there and I like it. Exclusion of the evidence is appropriate in cases in which the affidavit is so lacking in probable cause that reliance on it would be unreasonable, citing Brown versus Illinois from 1975. All right, quickly, let's see what Brown versus Illinois from 1975 was. Oh, we get an AI breakdown. So it says, in the case of Illinois versus Gore from 1975, the Supreme Court of the United States held that the Fourth Amendment's protection against the introduction of evidence obtained in an illegal arrest is not attenuated by reading the defendant their Miranda rights. The Illinois court had erred in adopting a per se rule to that Miranda warnings in and of themselves broke the causal chain so that any subsequent statement, even one induced by the continuing effects of unconstitutional custody, were admissible as long as it was voluntary and not coerced. Let's watch the breakdown.
Countless criminal defendants have
This again is going to be Brown versus Illinois, case brief summary from Law Case Explained.
confessed after validly waiving their Miranda rights.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me start it over.
Countless criminal defendants have confessed after validly waiving their Miranda rights. But what if such a defendant had been unconstitutionally arrested before confessing? How does a Fourth Amendment violation affect a confession's admissibility? The United States Supreme Court addressed this issue in Brown versus Illinois. Without a warrant or probable cause to believe Richard.
So basically, if he was illegally arrested and even okay, so evidently this Mr. Brown was arrested illegally. Okay, so basically they're saying therefore because he was arrested illegally, anything he admitted to after he was read his Miranda rights is unconstitutional, even though he waived the right to remain silent and admitted to a homicide, a murder. He went up and murdered 17 people. It's can't be used in law because he originally should not have been arrested. And again, the Miranda rights are you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. If you do not have an attorney, one can be appointed to help you, etc., etc.
Brown had committed any crime, 2 Chicago police detectives broke into his apartment and arrested him at gunpoint. The detectives suspected Brown had murdered Roger Corpus, but the detectives' suspicion was based more on a mere association between Brown and Corpus than any actual evidence. The detectives took Brown to an interrogation room at the police station. They read him Miranda warnings, which he validly waived. The detectives interrogated Brown about Corpus's murder and, less than 2 hours after his arrest, obtained a signed confession admitting to Brown's role, along with another man, in Corpus's murder. Brown remained at the police station and provided a second confession to a state prosecutor at around 3 a.m. the next morning. A state grand jury charged Brown with murder. He moved to suppress his 2 confessions under the Fourth Amendment. A state trial court denied the motion, and a jury convicted Brown of murder. Brown appealed to the Illinois Supreme Court, which affirmed his conviction. The state Supreme Court held that the taint of the Fourth Amendment violation that occurred when Brown was unconstitutionally arrested was sufficiently purged when Brown waived his Miranda rights. Brown successfully petitioned the United States Supreme Court to review his case.
So again, basically, he admitted to a homicide, but they're saying because he was arrested illegally, it's not valid. So Nessa, I apologize, said you can't lock her child in Shirley. Like you couldn't lock Madeline in the room, Shirley, and deny Jen's access to her. And I said, but if she sends Maddie to the room that she knows has locks on it willingly and is not trying to access her, then is that indeed interfering with child custody? Abella said, I can see some fireworks in the Washington state from my roof. They're tiny but visible in my binoculars. If it's a bit overcast, I see the skylight up on the other side of the Salish Sea. That is really cool, Abellas. That is amazing. We usually see them on the lake, and I used to live at my mother's house. I could stand out on the front porch and see all of them. It was really cool. He prohibited anyone and everyone from gaining access by locking that door. Right, but she knew that the locks were on the door and was not trying to access her. So therefore, is he intentionally interfering with child custody? Like, I'm asking the question because I'm not sure. It's possible. Different charges, not CSAM. I think Stephan Stern's defense attorney didn't read the entire case law. I mean, it's relevant. I think she read the case law and did a good job. I mean, it's relevant. It could be used in basically parallel to Stephen Stern's cases and everything he has going on. It was a good shot. You know what I mean? Like, it was a good try at throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. I mean, it had me scared a little bit. So here, law enforcement did not provide any false or misleading information in the affidavit for search warrant. As stated throughout this order, the affidavit was not lacking in reliance, so law enforcement relying on the warrant was not unreasonable. Accordingly, the court finds the good faith exception applies and suppression of the evidence is inappropriate. Accordingly, it is hereby ordered and judged that 1. Defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from Google search warrant is denied. And it was done and ordered in chambers in Osceola County, Kissimmee, Florida, the first day of July 2025. Again, I want to reiterate this is from Plunder. She is linked in the description box as well as the chat box. Please give her a like and subscribe. Anders said Stephan didn't think he would need an attorney until they mentioned the CSAM pics. He was going on about meandering and a hoopty, and that is true. I mean, and I think that's an admission of guilt there in and by itself, but technically they can't use that in a court of law. Florida has Stephen Stearns by the gonads now. Please don't accept any lesser plea deals. I agree. We did a poll on a couple of questions about plea deals. I don't think they're going to give him a plea deal, honestly, because he doesn't have anything of leverage that they could use unless he was to flip on Jen if he could prove and knew a way to prove she was involved. But other than that, I don't think they're going to offer him a plea deal. What an amazing victory for Maddie. The CSAM trial is scheduled to happen July 22nd, and judging by the fact that there was a joint motion to continue filed, and even with that, Judge Keith Carsten only continued the trial by about 7 or 8 days. I would think that it's definitely going to start on July 22nd. I will be streaming the trial every single day if you guys want to check that out and watch it with us, with the Speculating family. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Please hit that thumbs up. Make sure your notification bell is on so I can get you updates as soon as I am able to obtain them. And furthermore, if you have not subscribed to Plunder or The Docket, please do so via the links below. Thank you so much for watching. Happy 4th of July. Have a wonderful weekend. So again, I wanted to reiterate that I do believe that the case will start on July 22nd because even with the joint motion to continue, which again that means that it was filed by both the defense and the DA. So basically everybody, the Stephan's side and the side prosecuting him was asking for a continuance. And even at that, even his own DA asking, he only continued it for about 7 or 8 days, tells me that Judge Keith Carsten is ready to have this heard and get it over with. So I'm thinking that it's going to start July 22nd. Now it'll probably be aired, like we'll be able to start watching it the 23rd or 24th. They've got to go through and pick their jury and do all that, and that won't be televised. I never used the word meandering. Yes, thank you everyone for your support. I appreciate that. You're waiting to see if you get a jury notice? I was trying to see if anything was committed on July 4th. Oh. Maybe if I wrote it in wrong. 4th of July crimes. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to show y'all something that's going to be a little unnerving, but maybe we need to keep it in mind as we go out and celebrate fireworks tonight.
Cities across the country faced more deadly scenes over the 4th of July holiday.
Mass shootings ravaged gatherings. The
Oh,
Gun Violence
no.
Institute recorded 17 of them in just 4 days. Bree Jackson reports.
Oh my
A
goodness.
violent and deadly July 4th weekend across America.
Everybody use caution. We still got somebody out there firing shots. Good shot, good shot.
5 people were killed and 2 children injured in Philadelphia Monday night. Police are using this surveillance video as part of their investigation.
Oh my gosh. Did you see him just walking around with that big old firearm? And I mean, it's hard to tell the difference between a firearm going off and fireworks going off. They both use gunpowder, so just be careful out there. This is from last year.
Their investigation. Authorities say the 40-year-old suspect wearing body armor walked on the street with an AR-15 style rifle
Oh my
and a
goodness.
handgun, firing randomly.
It just mayhem. You can't explain it the way it was all blood all over the place.
Oh my
young man
God.
screaming like, help, 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 please help. There's people walking by him.
It's a disgraceful but all too common situation in America.
In a separate deadly shooting, police in Fort Worth, Texas say 3 people were killed, 8 others injured during a 4th of July celebration.
It's senseless, man. You know, you had people come in to a family environment with guns
Oh
and
my
start
God.
shooting randomly.
Delivering remarks to the National Education Association, President Biden called for improved gun laws, including a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
SD, yes, this is old footage from last year because, I mean, technically, if anything like that was going to happen, it would happen tonight. I'm sharing this for awareness so that if you guys go out, I'm myself am hoping to take the kids to see the fireworks tonight if I can, if there's enough room for us to be able to see them. So I just wanted to let y'all know to be careful because once fireworks start going off, it's hard to tell the difference between a firearm and a firework. So I'm just kind of sharing this for awareness.
Congress needs to step up, pass common
Okay.
sense.
Okay. I need to skip this. I apologize. I just don't want to get into politicals right now.
Nationwide, communities are searching for solutions to gun violence.
That was Bree Jackson reporting, taking a live look now at the White House, where President Joe Biden and his administration are calling on lawmakers. Once again, as you heard, the president renewed.
Okay. We're not going to get political. Nessa said if he admitted Jen benefited financially from the abuse, if they could prove through financial records that she benefited from the abuse, that could be a charge. So that's all I'm seeing as far as 4th of July homicide. Oh my goodness. This is from 4 years ago. You can look at
Over the
this.
4th of July weekend in cities across the country, some people weren't sure whether they were hearing fireworks or gunshots. Emergency rooms were packed with dozens of people who'd been shot. In the terrible outburst of violence, at least 5 people died. Here's CBS's Mark Strassman.
We didn't mean no harm.
Oh my goodness.
My baby didn't mean no harm.
Charmaine Turner's daughter, Secoria, her baby, died in her arms on the 4th of July.
Oh
A
my
group
God.
of armed men randomly blocked their car in Atlanta. 2 gunmen opened fire. The 8-year-old girl was killed.
This is about.
Oh my God. This is from 4 years ago. Abella said, always be aware of your surroundings. There is always a risk when we gather in large groups to celebrate that there could be somebody coming through and doing something. I mean, it's on the news all the time. This is one of the many reasons I live out in the country. Closest town has 500 people. I'm trying to get there. My damnedest, I'm trying to get way out into. I mean, I pretty much live in the country right now, but I want to own my own land out in the country like that too.
Some people carrying some weapons who shot up a car with an 8-year-old baby in the car. For what?
New York City on Sunday alone had 30 shootings. 48 people were shot, 10
Oh
of
my
them
God.
killed. Philadelphia had 17 separate shootings on July 4th. Chicago called out 1,200 extra cops for the holiday weekend. 87 people were shot, 17 fatally, including 7-year-old Natalia Wallace.
Oh my
I
God.
found my baby laying here. I'll never be the same again.
Crossfire hit the little girl standing outside her grandmother's house. Finally, in Washington,
my God.
D.C., 11-year-old Devon McNeil's mother organized an anti-violence cookout. A stray bullet to his head killed the youth football star.
It's going to be another young kid that's going to be shot and killed if we don't get out here and try to put a dent in it or stop it completely.
Oh my God.
Here in Atlanta, there were 31 gunshot victims over the holiday weekend. Georgia's governor declared a state of emergency because of the gun violence. He activated up to 1,000 National Guard troops to protect public buildings and potentially patrol city streets. Nora?
Mark Strassman, thank you.
Good gracious.
It's a case that.
So I wanted to share that with y'all just so you're aware when y'all go out to celebrate the holiday weekend. Carolina said, in my opinion, Jen Soto knows much more than she's leading on to. There's a piece missing in the case. I would like to know what it is. I agree. I mean, I have heard this before, Scratch, but it's hard. It's hard to hear every time, never gets easier to think about the people who, have died, just trying to celebrate summer and America's birthday with their family. I stay at home with my husband and dog. We might end up doing that. I mean, it just depends on how crowded it is in town. 2 police officers, they go home at 5 every night. That's amazing. Bread and butter is shock journalism that elicits fear and anxiety. You're right. Yep. You think she was in denial? Yeah. Jim was involved. I mean, how don't you know your child is getting essayed? Good point. With that, I'm going to end for the day. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me this July 4th and spending time going over these documents with us and talking about Travis Decker and everything going on with that. Hold on just a minute. Let me write down 253, probably 250. July 4th. Okay. 2. I appreciate y'all spending your July 4th with me and hanging out and talking about these documents, going over it, learning more about it, educating ourselves on case law. I feel is important to help us understand the case and everything going on. Hey, JDR, ready to dance out? I hope y'all have an amazing 4th of July. I don't know if I can pull up that comment Cara left. I'd like to play that again because that was just adorable. Oh, I can't pull it up on here anyway. Hold on. Let's see if we can find one real quick. We're going to find a 4th of July video before we play the outro. Let's see what this one is. Okay, I think we got enough of that one. Let's play a funny one. That's from that show. I can't find any funny ones. Oh, let's see what that one is real quick.
Every summer, Americans
Nope. Oh.
birth on July 4th, 1776. That's when the Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence, the revolutionary document in which the 13 American colonies announced they were free from British rule. But bet you didn't know, some people think we should actually celebrate on July 2nd, not the 4th. That was the day the delegates actually voted on the Declaration. They just didn't have the written document completed and printed until the 4th. Ready for some more 4th of July facts? Well, for starters, Philadelphia's famous Liberty Bell was not rung on July 4th, 1776. Its big moment came 4 days later, on July 8th, to honor the first public reading of the Declaration. No fewer.
This part might have to be cut out because they might tag me for the music. Bellis, I did find it that way. Thank you. So I do have it after we watch this.
Than 3 presidents, all of them among the nation's founding fathers, died on Independence Day. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died hours apart from each other on July 4th, 1826, 50 years after the nation declared its independence from Britain. James Monroe also died on July 4th, in 1831. From the beginning, Americans marked the birth of independence with parades, speeches, music, and public readings of the Declaration. Artillery salutes, a key feature of the earliest Independence Day celebrations, went out of fashion as cannons fell out of use by the late 19th century. But there's one early tradition that hasn't gone out of style: fireworks. Congress first authorized pyrotechnics as part of 4th of July celebrations way back in 1777.
I didn't know that was entered into Congress to use fireworks. I know they were first created in China. The Chinese were the first ones to have fireworks, but I didn't know that was actually written in Congress that we could use pyrotechnician for July 4th celebrations. That's interesting.
Today, more than 14,000 fireworks displays go off across the nation every July 4th. The largest of these is the Macy's 4th of July Spectacular in New York City. Some 75,000 pounds of fireworks go off during the roughly half-hour show, which is attended by 2 million people. And
Wow.
since 1941, most Americans have gotten to enjoy a little relaxation with their fireworks. Congress made Independence Day a federal legal holiday that year. And we bet you didn't know, it's one of only 4 federal holidays, along with New Year's Day, Veterans Day, and Christmas, that are celebrated on the same calendar date each year.
That's interesting. All right, so we learned something about America. We're going to share this for a laugh before we do our outro song, and then I hope y'all have a good day. I'm going to play it twice because it's going to start over.
Freedom is the only way in America. Coming again to save the motherfucking day in America. Freedom is the only way in.
All righty. With that, I hope y'all have a good day. Keep your pets at home tonight, yes. All right. Hey, Vamos. All right. If nobody has told you, you are important, you are enough, you are special, you are loved, and I hope y'all have a happy 4th of July. I will see y'all tomorrow. Y'all stay safe out there. Bye.